boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Ah, damn it. Forgot to do the thing. This is so sad. I'm not gonna get to see a shitty TikTok version of me. Whatever. We're here. And we're on time. Freaking Heroes of Olympus. Freaking da-da-da-da. Percy Jackson. Reading. Hey, Shaughnessy, what's going on, dude? You're never usually the first person here. Happy to see you. Hello, Anthony. On time. Yes, I'm always on time. W timing. Yes, indeed. We're gonna try TikTok again. We're gonna try it, even though I don't want to, and TikTok scares me. I feel we're gonna try it, and I didn't set it up on my phone because I got here later than I wanted to. But we're gonna freaking try it. No, I don't want to share this video with my Facebook friends. Thank you very much. That's so annoying. Live. Let's read Heroes of Olympus. Woo. Let's go. Okay. All right. Oh crap. This is stupid. Let me go post a thing. I was wondering if you were trying to do the TikTok setup. Hopefully this works better for you. I was gonna, and then I got back and I was like, let me not. But now I'm gonna do it. But it's still gonna be on my phone again because I got back so late. Also, Bonnie, I was mad at you for a bit. I was like, this girl's not sending me what I need to read. But then you're like, we're just gonna pick up from where we left off. So I was like, okay. But how much? I need to know the schedule. I need to note it. Because, like, I don't know. Yeah. What's gonna happen? Am I reading most of this on the stream? Are those all the interesting bits? Did you see that they were doing a remake of the God of War trilogy? Would be a great way to start the franchise, like the games, or they're doing it in the movies? Because I heard they were making live action God of War movies, but your live viewers are waiting. There's nobody waiting in the TikTok. Come on now. Let's not stop being goofy, TikTok. There's nobody there. But all right. You're having trouble with it? Okay. All right. I'll cut you some leeway. They're making the first 3 games. I thought they are. Oh, okay. Cool. I don't know. I might check that out, but I'm not sure. I don't play games that much, so if I do, it will be like for a stream or something. But last time on the Son of Neptune, crazy stuff, lots of crazy reveals. Percy made it all the way to Camp Jupiter. We met the camp leader, who is one of the freaking kids, Reyna. NICO is there for some reason, hence the title of the stream, NICO, what are you doing? Because you're messing with my mind, NICO, and I don't appreciate that. I really don't. I thought we were cool, but you're just lying to me. So, y'all, we'll freaking, this is what we're gonna, I'll leave this up for like 10 minutes, and if it don't work out, I'm just gonna turn it off, because like, whatever. But, yes, freaking dude, I need my answers. I've been waiting for this one because I've never been more excited to read a series book than Son of Neptune, because it started off crazy. We got so introduced. Camp Jupiter's insane. I love Reyna already. Hazel's super interesting. Frank, whatever. NICO is a big believer in minding your own damn. Listen, and that's my philosophy. That's my one of the most annoying things that happens to me when I'm watching the show and the characters come into a scene like, what are you doing? Whatever I want to do. Mind your own business, bro. Go back to your own scene. But yes, I am very curious. We're jumping in with a Hazel chapter, if I remember correctly. So that'll be good. But yes. Very excited. Very excited. I've been thinking about this all week, so I really want to see more. We will maybe be reading to 115 or 109, whatever Bonnie said. I don't really remember. But maybe past it. Depends. It depends. I'm a little tired. We'll see how much we're gonna read today. But yeah, I'm excited. So there's always something going on with the importance in the chapters of this book. But once we get past the first perspectives, I think I can just try to focus on the interesting chapters. Okay. Hey, listen, if every chapter is interesting, it just is like that. That's just how it is. But it's nice to actually be able to read a log. Are you reading for the first time a log? Do you actually? Did you not have the other books? Is it the first time you're actually joining me on the quest? Dude, I need some. Why is it so hot in here? Hold on. I will be right back. It'll take me 10 seconds. Yes. All right. Now we're ready. My apologies. I usually mute, but I didn't really care that time. So, all right. But that's enough with the talking. I need NICO to answer my questions. I need Hazel to ask more questions. I need to find out what Hazel's deal is. I don't own any of the Percy Jackson books or the Lost Hero, but I got the rest of Heroes of Olympus, so I'm guessing you checked that out at the library, that Percy Jackson series. But let me know what you'd like me to do, because I legit mapped out the entire book for you to read in sections of whatever is going on. We can change that up to interesting chapters. So whatever you think is best, I trust you. I don't really care. If you want me to read all this on the stream, I don't really care. It's just gonna take me longer to get through it, but that's fine. But I trust whatever you think is best, whatever would be the most fun. That's what I'm here for. So all right, but that's enough for the talking. Let's get into this. Hazel, chapter 6, a character that I didn't expect to be seeing, but it is time. Low-key, the reason I did that is because I missed completing reading Unafrican. Yes, because that was a really interesting chapter, and it's really weird that you didn't want me to read it, because like that was like one of my favorite chapters in the book. But like, yeah, listen, whatever you think is the coolest, whatever you think is the most fun, yeah, like, because I think I would have had a lot to say about that on the stream, because I was like, this is crazy. But yeah, anyways, Hazel, chapter 6, let's do it. All right. Hazel's walking home alone from riding the stables. Home? Is it a flashback? Or do you mean like her cabin? Despite the cold evening, she was buzzing with warmth. Sammy had just kissed her on the cheek. Oh, this is a flashback. The day had been full of ups and downs. Kids at school had teased her about her mother, calling her a witch and a lot of other names. That had been going on for a long time. Of course, but it was getting worse. Rumors were spreading about Hazel's curse. The school was called St. Agnes Academy for Colored Children and Indians. That's wild. A name that hadn't changed in 100 years. Just like its name, the place masked a whole lot of cruelty under a thin veneer of kindness. Hazel didn't understand other black kids could be so mean. Hazel is black. Okay, this is our second confirmed black character in the book, canonically, after Beckendorf. Interesting. They should have known better, since they themselves had to put up with the name calling all the time, but they yelled at her and stole her lunch. Well, always asking for those famous jewels. Where's those cursed diamonds, girl? Give me some or I'll hurt you. What the fuck? What kind of weird... No, you can't have my diamonds. What kind of weird thing is that? They pushed her away at the water fountain and threw rocks at her. If she tried to approach them on the playground, despite how horrible they were, Hazel never gave them diamonds or gold. She didn't hate anyone that much. Besides, she had one friend, Sammy, and that was enough. Sammy liked to joke that he was perfect. He was the perfect St. Agnes child. He was Mexican-American, so he considered himself colored and Indian. They should have given him a double scholarship, he said. He wasn't big or strong, but he had a crazy smile and made Hazel laugh. Dang, Rick's really leaning into this colored angle. This is really interesting. The afternoon, he'd taken her to the stables where he worked as a groom. It was a whites-only riding club. Oh, is this super old? I'm so confused right now. The image... Dog, listen. I need y'all to, like, remind me way... Because I'd be forgetting. Okay? Like... if you, I would have read about half this book before realizing that there was no picture up on the screen. God freaking damn it. Where is it? Where is it in my files? Excuse me. There it is. There we go. This is in the, I imagine this is in the 40s. That's what I was thinking. But she said it hadn't changed for 100 years, so I thought, like, I was curious, like, what she meant. There we go. Bam. Professional. Professional. Let me turn this. TikTok. I'm gonna stop doing TikTok like this. I'm gonna do it on my phone next time. On my computer next time. Yeah, whatever. This is too much work. The last chapter said 1941. Did it? Hold on. I totally forgot. Yes. It did say that. Okay. I remembered that, but I didn't know if we were like flashbacking all the way back there, or if she was like, you know, when she woke up, like later on. That's only a riding club, of course, but it was closed on weekdays. And with the war on, during World War II, there was talk that the club might have shut down completely until the Japanese were whipped and the soldiers came back home. Sammy could usually sneak Hazel in to help take care of the horses. Once in a while, they'd go riding. Hazel loved horses. They seemed to be the only thing that weren't scared of her. People hated her, cats hissed, dogs howled, even the stupid hamster in Miss Finley's classroom squeaked in terror when she gave it a carrot. But horses didn't mind. When she was in the saddle, she could ride so fast that there was no chance of gemstones cropping up in her wake. She almost felt free of her curse. That afternoon, she'd taken out a tan roan stallion with a gorgeous black mane. She galloped in the field so swiftly, she left Sam behind. By the time he caught up, he and his horse were both winded. Interesting. I'm really curious what this curse of hers is. What are you running from? He laughed. I'm not that ugly, am I? Bro, you probably are. It was too cold for a picnic, but they had one anyway, sitting under a magnolia tree with the horses tethered to a split rail fence. Sammy had brought her a cupcake with a birthday candle, which had gotten smashed on the ride, but was still the sweetest thing Hazel had ever seen. They broke it in half and shared. Sammy talked about the war. He wished he were old enough to go. He asked Hazel if she would write him letters if he were a soldier going overseas. Course, dummy, she said. He grinned. Then, as if moved by sudden impulse, he lunged forward and kissed her on the cheek. Happy birthday, Hazel. It wasn't much, just one kiss, and not even on the lips, but Hazel felt like she was floating. She hardly... Rick's also really leading into the romance on this one. She hardly remembered to ride back to the stables, or telling Sammy goodbye. He said see you tomorrow, like he always did, but she would never see him again. By the time she got back to the French Quarter, it was getting dark. As she approached home, her warm feeling faded, replaced by dread. Hazel and her mother, Queen Marie, she liked to be called, lived in an old apartment above a jazz club. Despite the beginning of the war, there was a festive mood in the air. New recruits would roam the streets, laughing and talking about the fighting Japanese. They'd get tattoos in the parlors or propose to their sweethearts right on the sidewalk. Some would go upstairs to Hazel's mother to have their fortunes read, or to buy charms from Marie Levesque, the famous Gris queen. Did you hear? One would say, 2 bits for this good luck charm. I took it to a guy I know, and he says it's a real silver nugget, worth $20. That voodoo woman is crazy. For a while, that kind of talk brought Queen Marie a lot of business. Hazel's curse had started out slowly. At first, it seemed like a blessing. The precious stones and gold only appeared once in a while, never in huge quantities. Interesting. Queen Marie paid her bills. They ate steak for dinner once a week. Hazel even got a new dress. Then stories started spreading. The locals began to realize how many horrible things happened to people who bought those good luck charms or got paid with Queen Marie's treasure. Charlie Gasco lost his arm in a harvester in a harvester while wearing a gold bracelet. Mr. Henry at the general store dropped dead from a heart attack after Queen Marie settled her tab with the ruby. Anybody who uses the crystals of the frickin' daughter of Pluto dies, right? Also, it's also really interesting that Hades' children are all from a long ass time ago. Folks started whispering about Hazel, how she could find jewels just by walking down the street. These days, only out-of-towners came to visit her mother, and not so many of them either. Hazel's mom had become short-tempered. She gave Hazel resentful looks. Hazel climbed the stairs as quietly as she could, in case her mother had a customer. In the club downstairs, the band was turning their instruments. The bakery next door had started making beignets for tomorrow morning, filling the stairwell with smell of melting butter. When she got to the top, Hazel thought she heard two voices inside the apartment, but when she peeked into the parlor, her mother was sitting alone at the seance table, her eyes closed as if in a trance. Hazel had seen her that way many times, pretending to talk to spirits for her clients, but not ever when she was by herself. Queen Marie had always told Hazel her Gris Gris was... Gris Gris sounds like a frickin' One Piece thing. The Gris Gris fruit. Listen. Hold on. Oh, he's the only one who actually followed the oath. Yeah. That's true, but it's interesting that they all, like, time traveled. Also, water is 0 calories. Listen, hater. Okay, I know you're coming in here to hate. I know you don't read Percy Jackson. I'm pretty sure you can't read at all, Miss Water. But NICO... he's doing some mischievous stuff, and I'm sleuthing it out. We need to discover this. Definitely gives him a plus, Hades. Girl, but listen, don't be mad because you can't read. It's okay. Pick up a book, like the rest. In fact, join the stream. Read along with me. I'll teach you how to pronounce the words. It'll be okay. You can do it. I believe in you. Where was I? Frickin', I totally forgot. I totally forgot. Where the fuck was I? I was way the fuck up here. Two voices in the apartment. I read. I just don't read sci-fi stuff. Sci-fi? Girl, this is fantasy. This is not sci-fi. This is... I know they seem like the same thing, but they're not. Like, sci-fi is like space and Star Wars. Fantasy is like Lord of the Rings. Gris Gris, thank you. Gris Gris, One Piece. It sounds like the Gris Gris fruit. What do you read then? I'm sure you read like what, like smut, like basically softcore prawn. Is that your thing? That's probably what it is. That's if I had to guess. And I'm reading Catcher in the Rye. Is that just softcore prawn? Is that one of those book talk books? I've never heard of that, so I don't know. I assume every book girls tell me they're reading is... Alright, no it's not. Okay. Alright. I only read books involving girls and werewolves. What? No, listen, majority of the time when girls tell me they read and they tell me what the book's about, it's prawn almost every single time. It's like some sexual book literally every single time. So I just usually assume... Yeah, Anthony is that a Twilight joke that I didn't get? Or where was I? Jesus Christ, just getting distracted. Gris Gris was bunk and hokum. She didn't really believe in charms or fortune telling or ghosts. She was just a performer, like a singer or an actress, doing a show for money. But Hazel knew her mother did believe in some magic. Hazel's curse wasn't hokum. Queen Marie just didn't want to think it was her fault. That somehow she had made Hazel the way she was. It was your blasted father. Blasted? I love it when someone says blasted. Oh, that's great. It was your blasted father. Queen Marie would crumble in her darker moods, coming here in his fancy silver and black suits. The one time I actually summoned a spirit, and what do I get? Fulfills my wish and ruins my life. I should have been a real queen. It's his fault you turned out this way. She would never explain what she meant, and Hazel had learned not to ask about her father. It just made her mother angrier. As Hazel watched, Queen Marie... Calling your mother Queen Marie is absurd. Muttered something to herself. Her face was calm and relaxed. Hazel was struck by how beautiful she looked, without her scowl and the creases in her brow. She had a lush mane of gold brown hair, like Hazel's, and the same dark complexion, brown as a roasted coffee bean. She wasn't wearing the fancy saffron robes or gold bangles she wore to impress clients. Just a simple white dress. Still, she had a regal air, sitting straight and dignified in her gilded chair as if she really were a queen. "You'll be safer there," she murmured, "far from the gods." Hazel stifled a scream. The voice coming from her mother's mouth wasn't hers. It sounded like an older woman's. The tone was soft and soothing, but also commanding, like a hypnotist giving orders. It was more a joke about the wild romance novels people openly admit to reading. No, that shit is absurd sometimes. People tell me the weirdest, goofy nonsense. Wait, so you do know Catcher in the Rye, though? Me? I do not. I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that book. So I don't know. Is it some sort of famous novel? Because I haven't heard of that. Queen Marie tensed. She grimaced in her trance and spoke in her normal voice. "It's too far, too cold, too dangerous. He told me not to." The other voice responded, "What has he ever done for you? She got freaking split personality? He gave you a poisoned child, but we can use her gift for good. We can strike back at the gods. You will be under my protection in the north, far from the gods' domain. I'll make my son your protector. You'll live like a queen at last." Queen Marie winced. "But what about Hazel?" Then her face contorted in a sneer. Both voices spoke in unison, as if they'd found something to agree on. A poisoned child. Hazel fled. Yeah, you better go, bro. Never. My mom started doing that. Yeah, it's time to pack it up. You're my mom, but like, listen, I'm not. We can discuss that another day when you're not doing for you or something. It's famous. I don't know. I'm not in the book world, so I don't know what's famous among book things. Like, I only know like the most famous books. Like, I don't know, 1984, Animal Farm, Moby Dick, Lord of the Rings, and then I've been recently learning more about like fantasy novels. So if it's like, I don't know, what's another thing? What's it? To Kill a Mockingbird, Hatchet, you know, stuff like that. But I've never heard Catcher in the Rye. Never heard that. I don't read that much. I'm trying to read more, but most everything on my shelf is sci-fi fantasy. I got Brandon Sanderson on there. I got Polini on there. I have Tolkien, whoever wrote First Law, but it's all fantasy stuff. Hazel fled downstairs, her pulse racing. At the bottom, she ran into a man in a dark suit. He gripped her shoulders with strong, cold fingers. "Easy, child," the man said. Hazel noticed the silver skull ring on his finger, and the strange fabric on his suit. In the shadows, the solid black wool seemed to shift and boil, forming images of his face in agony, as if lost souls were trying to escape from the folds of his clothes. That's cool. His tie was black with platinum stripes. His shirt was tombstone gray. His face, Hazel's heart nearly leapt out of her throat. His skin was so white, it looked almost blue, like cold milk. Freaking Disney Hades. He had a flap of greasy black hair. Don't call my boy Hades' hair greasy. His smile was kind, though, but his eyes were fiery and angry, full of mad power. Hazel had seen that look in the newsreel at the movie theater. This man looked like that awful Adolf Hitler. That's crazy. He had no mustache, but otherwise, he could have been Hitler's twin or his father. I had to read it in middle school. I did not. They gave me an option, but it was like for kids' mystery books. So, or what was that? Hazel tried to pull away. Even when the man let go, she couldn't seem to move. His eyes froze in her place. "Hazel Levesque, cool last name," he said in a melancholy voice. "You've grown." Hazel started to tremble. At the base of the stairs, a cement stoop cracked under the man's feet. A glittering stone popped up from the concrete like earth and had spit out a watermelon seed. The man looked at it surprised. He bent down. "Don't!" Hazel cried. "It's cursed." He picked up the stone. A perfectly formed emerald. "Yes, it is, but not to me. So beautiful, worth more than this building, I imagine." He slipped the emerald in his pocket. "I'm sorry for your fate, child. I imagine you hate me." Hazel didn't understand. The man sounded sad, as if you were personally responsible for her life. Well, he did birth you. And the truth hit her. A spirit in silver and black, who fulfilled her mother's wishes and ruined her life. Her eyes ruined. You're my... He cupped his hand under her chin. I am Pluto. Life is never easy for my children, but you have a special burden. Now that you're 13, we must make provisions. She pushed his hand away. Why the hell is my boy Hades catching that straight? That is absurd. He's a nice guy, Rick. You said he was nice for like the past 5 books, bro. Well, except for that one time in the last Olympian, but anyways. You did this to me? She demanded. You cursed me and my mother. You left us alone. Her eyes stung with tears. The rich white man in a fine suit was her father. Now that she was 13, he showed up for the first time and said he was sorry. You're evil, she shouted. You ruined our lives. Pluto's eyes narrowed. What has your mother told you, Hazel? Has she never explained her wish, or told you why you were born under a curse? Hazel was too angry to speak, but Pluto seemed to read the answers in her face. No. He sighed. I suppose she wouldn't. Much easier to blame me. What do you mean? Pluto sighed. Poor child. You were born too soon. I cannot see your future clearly, but someday you will find your place. A descendant of Neptune will wash away your curse and give you peace. Oh, interesting. He's prophesizing that all the way back then? Yeah, oh yeah, she can take away her curse. He took away his curse. I fear, though, that is not for many years. Hazel didn't follow any of that. Before she could respond, Pluto held out his hand. A sketch pad and a box of colored pencils appeared in his palm. I understand you enjoy art and horseback riding, he said. These are for your art. As for the horse, his eyes gleamed. That you'll have to manage yourself. Now I must speak with your mother. Happy birthday, Hazel. He turned and headed up the stairs just like that, as if he checked Hazel off his to-do list and had already forgotten her. Happy birthday. Go draw a picture. See you in another 13 years. More like 100 some odd years. Hades is arguably the least problematic of the big three. Yeah. It's not even arguable. He just is. But he was causing major issues in the last Olympian. He was like, I don't give a fuck. He was like, I don't care. If the entire world ends, my son will be the one to be the child of prophecy. Let's chill out, bro. You can be the child of the next prophecy. Even though I have a theory about that, but I will tell you at the end of this chapter my 7 Half-Bloods theory, because I think I know which 7 they are. She was stunned, so angry, so upside down, confused, that she just stood paralyzed at the base of the steps. She wanted to throw down the colored pencils and stomp on them. She wanted to charge after Pluto and kick him. She wanted to run away, find Sammy and steal a horse, leave town and never come back, but she didn't do any of those things. Above her, the apartment door opened, and Pluto stepped inside. Hazel was still shivering from his cold touch, but she crept up the stairs to see what he would do, what he would say to Queen Marie. Who would speak back? Hazel's mother, or that awful voice? When she reached the doorway, Hazel heard arguing. She peeked in. Her mother seemed back to normal, screaming and angry, throwing things around the parlor while Pluto tried to reason with her. Marie, it's insanity, he said. You'll be far beyond my power to protect you. Protect me? Queen Marie yelled. When have you ever protected me? Pluto's dark suit shimmered as if the souls trapped in the fabric were getting agitated. You have no idea, he said. I've kept you alive. You and the child. My enemies are everywhere, among gods and men. Now with the war on, it will only get worse. You must stay where I can. The police think I'm a murderer, Queen Marie shouted. My clients want to hang me as a witch. And Hazel, her curse is getting worse. Your protection is killing us. Pluto spread his hands in a pleading gesture. Marie, please. No! Queen Marie turned to the closet, pulled out a leather valise, and threw it on the table. We're leaving, she announced. You can keep your protection. We're going north. Marie, it's a trap, Pluto warned. Whoever's whispering in your ear? Whoever's turning you against me? You turned her against me! I won't let you take it from me! I hope you all get that. You should all get that. She picked up a porcelain vase and threw it at him. It shattered on the floor, and precious stones spilled everywhere. Emeralds, rubies, diamonds, Hazel's entire collection. You won't survive, Pluto said. If you go north, you'll both die. I can foresee that clearly. Get out, she said. Hazel wished Pluto would stay and argue. Whatever her mother was talking about, Hazel didn't like it, but her father slashed his hand across the air and dissolved into shadows. What a pimp. Like he really was a spirit. Queen Marie closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. Hazel was afraid the strange voice might possess her again. But when she spoke, she was her regular self. Hazel, she snapped. Come out from behind that door. Trembling, Hazel obeyed. She clutched the sketch pad and colored pencils to her chest. Her mother studied her like she was a bitter disappointment, a poisoned child, the voices had said. Pack a bag, she said. She ordered. We're moving. Where? Hazel asked. Alaska, L country. If you guys are ever on a stream with Noah, spam Alaska sucks in the chat. Alaska, Queen Marie answered. You're going to make yourself useful. We're going to start a new life. The way her mother said that, it sounded as if they were going to create a new life for someone else or something else. What did Pluto mean? Hazel asked. Is he really my father? He said you made a wish. Go to your room, her mother shouted. Pack! Hazel fled, and suddenly she was ripped out of the past. NICO was shaking her shoulders. You did it again, Hazel blinked. They were still sitting on the roof of Pluto's shrine. The sun was lower in the sky. More diamonds had surfaced around her, and her eyes stung from crying. Sorry, she murmured. Don't be, NICO said. Where were you? My mother's apartment, the day we moved. NICO nodded. He understood her history better than most people could. He was also a kid from the 1940s. He'd been born only a few years after Hazel. Yeah, okay. And he had been locked away in a magic hotel for decades. But Hazel's past was much worse than NICO's. She'd caused so much, and she was black. She caused so much damage and misery. You have to work on controlling those memories, NICO warned. If a flashback like that happens when you're in combat. I know, she said. I'm trying. It's what an interesting plot device you've thrown, Rick. To not so subtly reveal Hazel's past. NICO squeezed her hand. It's okay. I think it's a side effect from, your time in the underworld. Hopefully it'll get easier. Hazel wasn't so sure. After 8 months, the blackout seemed to be getting worse, as if her soul were attempting to live in 2 different time periods at once. No one had ever come back from the dead before. At least not the way she had. Interesting. NICO was trying to reassure her, but neither of them knew what would happen. I can't go north again, Hazel said. NICO, if I have to go back to where it happened, you'll be fine, he promised. Y'all are friends this time. Percy Jackson. Percy Jackson! He's got a role to play in this. You can sense that, can't you? He's a good person to have at your side. Hazel remembered what Pluto told her long ago. A descendant of Neptune will wash away your curse and give you peace. Well, he's not really the son of Neptune. He's son of Poseidon, if we're being facetious about it. Was Percy the one? Maybe, but Hazel sensed it wouldn't be so easy. She wasn't sure even Percy could survive what was waiting in the north. He can. Where did he come from, she asked. Why did the ghosts call him the Greek? Before NICO could respond, horns blew across the river. The legionnaires were gathering for evening muster. We better get down there, NICO said. I have a feeling tonight's war games are going to be interesting. Oh, war games that happen every single night. Another Hazel chapter to boot. Dang, Rick's doing not the 2-2-2 thing. Alright. Hayes casually said his brother would make one of the greatest heroes of all time. You mean his nephew? What are you talking about? Anakin really had one of the craziest crash outs in fictional history, brother. Percy serves a lot, yes. Alright, here's my theory. For the 7, okay? I'm almost certain I figured it out. You don't have to tell me I'm right. You don't have to tell me anything. If not, don't tell me I'm right. Don't tell me I'm right, don't tell me I'm wrong. But just, this is what it is, okay? These are the 7 demigods. We got, obviously, Jason, Piper, Leo, confirmed. Percy confirmed also, because he's the main pro tag. Those are the 4 that we already got, okay? Now, we're talking Annabeth, okay? We're talking Hazel, okay? And then Frank. It's not Reyna, and it's not NICO. I'm 100% certain that it's not NICO. that is I'm 100% certain that it's not Nico, because Hazel is another child of Pluto Hades introduced in the series. There's no way you're having 2 children of Hades as 7 demigods. Not happening. And Frank freaking now I have to think, right? Because Annabeth and Reyna are mirrors. So it'd be weird to have Annabeth and not Reyna. But you definitely can't have Nico. And so, with Annabeth and Percy and Piper and Leo, that's 4 Greeks. Jason, Hazel, Frank, that is the 3 Romans. I don't think, I don't think it's gonna be Reyna. I don't think it's gonna be Reyna. It's because I don't know. I just how I feel, but it's definitely not Nico. But if it's not, oh, how many girls is that? Let's talk. How many girls is that? Because it's Hazel, Annabeth, Piper. That's 3 girls, 4 guys. Yeah, that's it. There's no way Rick's doing 4 girls, 3 guys. Nah, it's John, demigod. You haven't seen him yet, but he really ties the team together. I bet. I'm sure. No, I'm sure. John, son of Hypnos. Yeah, for sure. But no, there's no way Rick's doing 4 girls, 3 guys. There's not how people write stories. More often, it's 4 girls. It's 4 boys, 3 girls. The girls are Hazel, Annabeth, and Piper. Yeah, it's not Reyna. That's it. That's the final ranking. We will soon see. But those first 4 are confirmed. Piper, Jason, Leo, and Percy. Those 4 are confirmed. When we get the other 3, we'll know. But mark my words. Mark my words right now. All right. Anyways, Hazel, number 7. I do want to see who all the perspective characters are, though. I'm very curious if we're going to get a Reyna perspective. I'm sure we're going to get a Nico perspective. It'd be so sad if we didn't. If I had to wait till the Sun and the Star to read Nico, then 7 is such an awkward number for a team of people. Yes and no, but it's a perfect number. Because like I said last time, it since the Greeks and the Romans have this rivalry, it'd be too easy if it was like 4 and 4, you know, it'd be even, it'd be perfect. 7 creates more drama. 7 is like there's one more of either side, you know. So if so I think, yeah, it has to be 7. Because like it creates drama, like, oh, there's too many Greeks, you're fucking up the Romans, yada yada. Yeah, it's probably gonna be more Greeks than Romans, which is because like Percy has to be a part of it. Yeah, I think 7 is the perfect. 7 is good, honestly. If it like the only way I could see it being more Romans than Greeks is if it's not Annabeth and if it's Reyna. If it's Reyna instead of Annabeth, that'd be crazy, but it's not going to be Annabeth and Reyna. It's definitely not going to be Annabeth and Reyna. 100% not. That's not going to be a thing. They might be both in the story, but they might not be the 7 demigods chosen. Well, some of them are both. No, they're not. They're not. You can't be both. You can't be both. We've been over this. You're either a son of Jupiter or you're a son of Zeus. That's why Thalia is a daughter of Zeus, but Jason is the son of Jupiter. Percy is not the son of Neptune. He's the son of Poseidon. Jason is No. He's not. Jason's not the son of Zeus. He's the son of Jupiter. Dog. Were we even reading the same book? They can't be both. Because Zeus can't be in his Roman form and his Greek form at the same time. You pick and choose. Maybe if it is revealed that one of them is both, the only character that is going to be is Percy, 100%. But it's the same, just different personality. No, because they go to different camps. It's entirely different. Like yeah, they're characteristics are different. Yeah, there are different things, you know. Like it's just it's more than that. Like it's like it's weird because right, Thalia and Jason are brother and sister, but that's mostly because they come from the same mother, not from the same father. You feel me? Like that's not the same thing. Like Nico and Bianca are both children of Hades, but and you can reason to say that Hazel and Nico are siblings, but they're really not in the same way Nico and Bianca were. So yeah, that's that. That's just what it is. It's different enough. It's different enough that they have to send them to different parts of the world, to different to opposite sides of the country. That's how different they are. But yeah, anyways, that's that. Those are the 7. Mark my words. Yes. So if I have a multiple personality disorder, I can say the kid isn't mine because I'm not wanting to control. No, you're not a Greek god. You're not a god. No, we're not doing this. You're just no. You got to pay child support, Anthony. Sorry, lock it. You have to pay child support. But no, if you were a god and you changed your magical form and it had different properties, then yeah, you could say that. But you're just a guy and you got to pay child support. And I know that's why the powers are different too, like Jason and Thalia and Nico and Hazel. Yeah, that's definitely why. Because the myths and legends are just slightly different. They're just slightly different. Like Bianca never had this issue, this gem issue, but however, like she wasn't really, she kind of signed her soul away to Artemis pretty quick. So yes, his dad is Jupiter, but it was sent to the different camp so he could be a bridge. Yeah, but him and Percy are both the bridge. Bridges have 2 sides. So him and Percy, that's why it wasn't just Jason who was sent over to Camp Half-Blood and Percy was just chilling. Percy was also sent over. They're both bridges. So that's why. Not because he's the son of Zeus. It's because they're both bridges in that aspect. I think Jason and Thalia have the same powers, but she can't fly due to a mental block. Maybe. But also Zeus is the god of less things than Hades is. Hades is the god of and Pluto is the god of the riches and the god of death. You know, so it's a little bit different because Zeus is the god of less. But yeah. Anyways, on the way back, Hazel tripped over a gold bar. She should have known not to run so fast, but she was afraid of being late for muster. The 5th cohort had the nicest centurions in camp. Still, even they would have to punish her if she was tardy. Her own punishments were harsh: scrubbing the streets with a toothbrush, cleaning the bullpens at the Colosseum, getting sewn inside a sack full of angry weasels and dumped into the little Tiber. The options were not great. I'd pick a lot of those over the last one. The gold bar popped out of the ground just in time for her foot to hit it. Nico tried to catch her, but she took a spill and scraped her hands. "You okay?" Nico knelt next to her and reached for the bar of gold. "Don't," Hazel warned. Nico froze. "Right, sorry. It's just, jeez, that thing is huge." Nico would die too? I feel like Nico's chilling. He's the son of Hades, you know? He pulled a flask of nectar from his aviator jacket and poured a little on Hazel's hands. Immediately, the cut started to heal. "Can you stand?" He helped her. They both stared at the gold. It was the size of a bread loaf, stamped with the serial number and words U.S. Treasury. Nico shook his head. "How in Tartarus?" That's funny. It's like he's saying, "How in the hell?" "I don't know," Hazel said miserably. "It could have been buried there by robbers or dropped off a wagon 100 years ago. Maybe it migrated from the nearest bank vault. Whatever's in the ground, anywhere close to me, it just pops up. And the more valuable it is." Or also, why did Hazel come back and Bianca couldn't come back? That's the question. "The more dangerous it is," Nico frowned. Should we cover it up? If the fawns find it." Hazel imagined a mushroom cloud billowing up from the road. Charboiled fawns tossed in every direction. It was too horrible to consider. "It should sink back into the ground after I leave, eventually, but just to be sure." She'd been practicing this trick, but she never but never with something so heavy and dense. She pointed at the gold bar and tried to concentrate. The gold levitated. She channeled her anger, which wasn't hard. She hated that gold. She hated their curse. She hated thinking about her past and all the ways she'd failed. Her fingers tingled. The gold bar glowed with heat. NICO gulped. Hazel, are you sure? Oh shit. She made a fist. The gold bent into putty. Hazel forced it to twist into a giant, lumpy ring. Then she flicked her hand toward the ground. Her $1 million donut landed into the earth. It sank so deep, nothing was left but a scar of fresh dirt. NICO's eyes widened. That was terrifying. Hazel didn't think it was so impressive compared to the powers of a guy who could reanimate skeletons and bring people back from the dead, but it felt good to surprise him for a change. Inside the camp, horn flew again. The cohorts would be starting roll call, and Hazel had no desire to be sewn into a sack of weasels. Hurry, she said, NICO, and they ran for the gates. The first time Hazel had seen the Legion assemble, she'd been so intimidated she almost slunk back to the barracks to hide. Even after being at camp for 9 months, she still found it an impressive sight. The first 4 cohorts, each 40 kids strong, stood in rows. In the row of their barracks, on either side of the Via Praetoria, the 5th cohort assembled at the very end, in front of the Principia. Since their barracks were tucked in the back corner of camp, next to the stables and the latrines, Hazel had to run down to the middle of the Legion to reach her place. The campers were dressed for war. Their polished chainmail and greaves gleamed over purple t-shirts and jeans. Sword and skull designs decorated their helmets. Even their leather combat boots looked ferocious with their iron cleats. Great for marching through mud or stomping on faces in front of the legionnaires like a line of giant dominoes. So their red and gold shields, each the size of a refrigerator. Door. Every legionnaire carried a harpoon-like spear called a pilum, a gladius, a dagger, and about 100 pounds of other equipment. If you were out of shape when you came to the Legion, you didn't stay that way for long. Just walking around in your armor was a full-body workout. Hazel and NICO jogged down to the street as everyone was coming to attention, so their entrance was really obvious. Their footsteps echoed on the stones. Hazel tried to avoid eye contact, but she caught Octavian at the head of the first cohort, smirking at her. Looking smug in his plumed centurion's helmet, with a dozen medals pinned on his chest. Hazel was still seething from his blackmail threats earlier. Stupid augur and his gift of prophecy. All the people at camp to discover her secrets. Why did it have to be him? She was sure he would have told on her weeks ago, that he knew her secrets were worth more to him as leverage. She wished she'd kept that bar of gold so she could hit him on the face with it. She ran past Rena, who was cantering back and forth on her Pegasus, Scipio. Well, she has a Pegasus, nicknamed Skippy because he was the color of peanut butter. The metal dogs, Arum and Argentum, trotted at her side. Her purple officer's cape billowed behind. Oh, she has a cape? That's so tough. That's so tough. Oh, what is it? I missed something. I know, but he feels like it's home now. I don't think so. I think that's what they implied last book, but I still see it a bit differently. But maybe because we haven't seen Thalia's POV. Zeus is the god of infidelity. All Greek gods have practiced in this aspect. Zeus has really dedicated his life to mastering it. I have to go. Hopefully I can save for the whole one next time. No worries, Anthony. Or sorry, Shaughnessy. My bad. I know Anthony's still here. You have the answer to that this read stream. Will I? WWW. Yes, thank you for being here. I wish I could say, but I have to go with my family. No worries. I'm sure he's already gone. But W anyway. Hazel tried to avoid eye contact, but she caught Octavian at the head of the first cohort. No, I already passed that. She ran past Rena, Skippy, purple. Yes, cape. She has a badass cape. That's what it was. That's so sick. You love to see it. Hazel Levesque, she called. So glad you could join us. Hazel knew better than to respond. She was missing most of her equipment, but she hurried to her place in line next to Frank and stood at attention. Their lead Centurion. I wonder if Percy's here and he's gonna do his Jackson shit. Their lead Centurion, a big 17-year-old guy named Dakota. We're just calling her name. The last one on the roll. Present, she squeaked. Thank the gods, she wasn't late. NICO joined Percy Jackson, who was standing off to one side with a couple of guards. Percy's hair was wet from the baths. What? Oh, right. It's only seawater. He put on fresh clothes, but he still looked uncomfortable. Hazel couldn't blame him. He was about to be introduced to 200 heavily armed kids. Come on. Oh, come on. This is about to be so cool. We need to bring capes back into fashion. Bro, just start wearing them. Just start wearing them. Dude, you'll look tough, I promise. It's so cool. Capes are so tough, bro. The layers are the last one to fall in. Their herbal forms flickered as they jockeyed for places. They had an annoying habit of standing halfway inside living people. So the ranks could look like a blurry photograph. But finally, the Centurion got them sorted out. Octavian shouted, "Colors!" The standard bearers stepped forward. They wore lion skin capes and held poles decorated with each cohort's emblems. The last to present his standard was Jacob, the Legion's eagle bearer. He held a long pole with absolutely nothing on top. Their job was supposed to be a big honor, but Jacob obviously hated it, even though Reyna insisted on following tradition. Every time the eagle's pole was raised, Hazel could feel embarrassment ripping through the Legion. Reyna brought her Pegasus to a halt. "Romans," she announced, "you've probably heard about the incursion today. 2 Gorgons were swept into the river by this newcomer, Percy Goatson. Juno herself guided him here and proclaimed him a son of Neptune." The kids in the back rows craned their necks to see Percy. He raised his hand and said, "Hi." "He seeks to join the Legion." I don't think he does. Reyna continued, "What do the auguries say?" "I have read the intro," Octavian announced, as if he'd killed a lion with his bare hands, rather than ripping up a stuffed panda pillow. "The auguries are favorable. He's qualified to serve." The campers gave a shout. "Av! Hail!" Frank was a little late with his "av," so it came out as a high-pitched echo. The Legionnaire snickered. Reyna motioned the senior officers forward, one from each cohort. Octavian, as the most senior Centurion, turned to Percy. "Recruit," he asked. "Do you have credentials? Letters of reference?" The fuck are you talking about, bro? I am the letter of reference. I'm Percy, go to Miss Jackson. What are you even talking about right now? He's remembered this from her own arrival. A lot of kids brought letters from older demigods in the outside world, adults who were veterans of the camp. Some recruits had rich and famous parents. Some were 3rd or 4th generation campers. A good letter could get you a position in the better cohorts. Sometimes even special jobs like Legion Messenger, which made you exempt from the grunt work like digging ditches or conjugating Latin verbs. Percy shifted. "Letters, no." Octavian wrinkled his nose. "Unfair," Hazel wanted to shout. Percy had carried a goddess into camp. What better recommendation could you want? That's true. Yes. Also, whatever those things are with enchanted hoods. You mean a cloak? How about a cloak? Cloaks are dope too. Percy could turn off his waterproof abilities whenever he wants. Is that so? Did he? I don't remember that. I just thought it was automatic. Also, I thought it was only like seawater, like when it's like it's shower water. Like I feel like that's different. But Octavian's family had been sending against a camp for over a century. Okay, cool. He loved reminding recruits that they were less important than he was. "No letters," Octavian said regretfully. "Will any legionnaires stand for him?" "I will," Frank stepped forward. "He saved my life." Immediately, there were shouts of protest from the other cohorts. Raina raised her hand for quiet and glared at Frank. Frank Zhang, she said, for the second time today, I remind you that you are on probatio. Your godly parent has not even claimed you yet. You are not eligible to stand for another camper until you've earned your first stripe. Interesting. So there's still a claiming process here. And Frank doesn't know who he's the son of. I was curious about that too. Frank looked like he might die of embarrassment. Hazel couldn't leave him hanging. She stepped out of line and said, "What Frank means that Percy saved both our lives. I am a full member of the Legion. I will stand for Percy Jackson." Let's freaking go. Frank glanced at her gratefully. The other campers started to murmur. Hazel was barely eligible. She only gotten her stripe a few weeks ago, and the act of valor that earned it for her had been mostly an accident. Besides, she was a daughter of Pluto, and a member of the disgraced 5th cohort. She wasn't doing Percy much of a favor by giving him her support. Raina wrinkled her nose, but she turned to Octavian. The augur smiled and shrugged, like the idea amused him. Why not, Hazel thought. Putting Percy in the 5th would make him less of a threat. And Octavian liked to keep all his enemies in one place. Very well, Raina announced. Hazel Levesque, you may stand for the recruit. Does your cohort accept him? The other cohort started coughing, trying not to laugh. Hazel knew what they were thinking. Another loser for the 5th. Bro. Little do you know. Frank pounded his shield against the ground. The other members of the 5th followed his lead, though they didn't seem very excited. Their centurions, Dakota and Gwen, exchanged pained looks like, here we go again. My cohort has spoken, Dakota said. We accept their recruit. Raina looked at Percy with pity. Congratulations, Percy Jackson. You stand on probatio. You will be given a tablet with your name and cohort. In 1 year's time, or as soon as you complete an act of valor, you will become a full member of the 12th Legion Fulminata. Serve Rome, obey the rules of the Legion, and defend the camp with honor. Senatus Populusque Romanus. Listen, Percy is not with none of that. 1 year of time, do all this, do all that. That sounds like a lot of work, bro. I'm just gonna do whatever I want. he's not with that. I know he is not. Percy one time said he purposely turned off his waterproof so civilians would not be suspicious of him. Interesting. I don't remember that, but I believe it. Centaurians, Raina said. You and your troops have 1 hour for dinner. Then we will meet on the field of Mars. The 1st and 2nd cohorts will defend. The 3rd and 4th and 5th will attack. Good fortune. Percy's about to fucking sweep. A bigger cheer went up. For the war games and for dinner. The cohorts broke ranks and ran for the mess hall. Hazel waved at Percy, who made his way through the crowd with Nico at his side. To Hazel's surprise, Nico was beaming at her. Good job, sis, he said. That took guts. Standing for him. He never called her sis before. She wondered if that was what he had called Bianca. One of the guards had given Percy his probatio nameplate. I thought probatio was like it meant like you were in trouble, but now that just means you're like a trial member. You're still beta testing. Percy strung it on his leather necklace with the strange beads. Thanks, Hazel, he said. What exactly does it mean? You're standing for me? I guarantee your good behavior, Hazel explained. I teach you the rules, answer your questions, make sure you don't disgrace the Legion. And if I do something wrong, then I get killed along with you, Hazel said. Hungry? Let's eat. Damn, that is. Oh, it's hardcore. Ooh. They couldn't kill him if he tried, though, so it doesn't really matter. Like Percy, actually would mop all of them. So it doesn't really matter. It's like it isn't fucking Camp Half-Blood. Glory, bro. Get enough glory and they don't mess with you. An act of valor, give Percy 20 minutes and he'll have it done. Facts. I don't know how carrying in fucking June on his back is an act of valor, but whatever. Dude. End of chapter, by the way. I don't know if I said that. But freaking, I want to see these war games, because I'm assuming it's like the Camp Jupiter version of Capture the Flag, and I bet you Percy does some crazy crap. I bet you does. But also, we're getting a lot of back-to-back chapters. I was hoping to switch perspective more than this, but I'm assuming that'll happen more later on. Like, I'm assuming we'll probably switch to, like, Raina after this one or something like that, or Frank or something. Probably Frank. Anyways. Hazel, 7. Or 8. At least the camp food was good. Invisible wind spirits, Ori, waited on the campers and seemed to know exactly what everyone wanted. They blew plates and cups around so quickly, the mess hall looked like a delicious hurricane. You got up too fast. You were likely to get beamed by beans. Okay. Or potted by pot roast. Hazel got a shrimp gumbo. Dang! Her favorite comfort food. It made her think about being a little girl in Nolans. Before a curse set in, and your mom got so bitter. Percy got a cheeseburger, and a strange-looking soda that was bright blue. Of course he did. Hazel didn't understand that, but Percy tried it and grinned. This makes me happy, he said. I don't know why, but it does. Just for a moment, one of the Ori became invisible, an elfin girl in a white silk dress. She giggled as she topped off Percy's glass and disappeared in a gust. The mess hall seemed especially noisy tonight. Laughter echoed off the walls. War banners. Okay, now we know how NICO knows, but how does Raina know him? That's the question we still need to answer. Takes a bit before we get there, but yes, we'll get perspective change soon. Yeah, I imagine it's just kind of, we're taking a long time to set some stuff up with this one. War banner was from Cedar's ceiling. Beams as Ori blew back and forth, keeping everyone's plates full. The campers dined, Roman style, sitting on couches or on low tables. Kids were constantly getting up and trading places, spreading rumors about who liked whom, and all the other gossip. As usual, the 5th cohort took the place of least honor. Their tables were at the back of the dining hall, next to the kitchen. Hazel's table was always the least crowded. Tonight, it was she and Frank as usual, with Percy and NICO, and their Centaurian Dakota sat there. Hazel figured because she felt obligated to welcome the new recruit. Dakota reclined glumly on his couch. Dakota's a man. His brother was a girl. Mixing sugar into his drink and chugging it. He was a beefy guy, with curly black hair and eyes that didn't quite line up straight, so Hazel felt like the world was leaning whenever she looked at him. It wasn't a good sign that he was drinking so much so early in the night. So, he burped, waving his goblet. Welcome to the Percy party, he frowned. Party Percy, whatever. Thanks, Percy said, but his attention was focused on NICO. Was wondering if we could talk, about where I might have seen you before. Sure, NICO said, a little too quickly. The thing is, I spend most of my time in the underworld, so unless I met you there somehow. Dakota belched. Ambassador from Pluto. They call him Raina's never sure what to do with this guy. Ambassador from Pluto, they call him. Oh, that's cool. Raina's never sure what to do with this guy when he visits. You should have seen her face when he showed up with Hazel, asking to take her in. No offense. None taken. NICO seemed to lead to change the topic. Dakota was really helpful, standing for Hazel. Dakota blushed. Yeah, well, she seemed like a good kid. Turned out I was right. Last month, when she saved me from oh man. Frank looked up from his fish and chips. Stop doing that, Rick. That's so annoying. Percy, you should have seen her. That's how Hazel got her stripe. The unicorns decided to stampede. It was nothing, Hazel said. Nothing, Frank protested. Dakota would have gotten trampled. You stood right in front of them. You shooed them away. You saved his hide. I've never seen anything like it. Hazel bit her lip. She didn't like to talk about it. And she felt uncomfortable. The way Frank made her sound like a hero. In truth, she'd been mostly afraid that the unicorns would hurt themselves in their panic. Their horns were precious, metal, silver, and gold, so she meant to turn them aside by simply concentrating and steering the animals by their horns, by guiding them back to the stables. It had gotten her a full place in the Legion, but it also started rumors about her strange powers, rumors that reminded her of her bad old days. Percy studied her. Those sea-green eyes made her unsettled. Did you and Nico grow up together, he asked. No, Nico answered for her. I found out Hazel was my sister only recently. She's from New Orleans. That was true, of course, but not the whole truth. Nico let people think he'd stumbled upon her in modern New Orleans and brought her to camp. It was easier than telling them the real story. Did Nico fucking time travel? Is Nico Trunks? What the crap? Hazel had tried to pass herself off as a modern kid. It wasn't easy. Thankfully, demigods didn't use a lot of technology at camp. Their powers tended to make electronics gadgets go haywire. But the first time she went on furlough to Berkeley, she had nearly had a stroke. Televisions, computers, iPods, the internet, it made her glad to get back to the world of ghosts, unicorns, and gods. That seemed much less of a fantasy than the 21st century. Nico was still talking about the children of Pluto. There aren't many of us, he said, so we have to stick together. When I found Hazel, your brother sisters? Percy asked, almost as if he knew the answer. Hazel wondered again when he and Nico had met and what her brother was hiding. One, Nico admitted, but she died. I saw her spirit a few times in the underworld, except that the last time I went down there. To bring her back, Hazel thought, though Nico didn't say that. She was gone. Nico's voice turned hoarse. She used to be in Elysium, like the underworld paradise, but she chose to be reborn to a new life. Now I'll never see her again. I was just lucky to find Hazel in New Orleans, I mean. That's interesting. Interesting. Dakota grunted. Unless you believe the rumors. Not saying that I do. Rumors, Percy asked. From across the room, Don the Fawn yelled, Hazel! Hazel had never been so glad to see the Fawn. He wasn't allowed in camp, but of course, he always managed to get in. He was working his way toward their table, grinning at everybody, sneaking food off plates, pointing at campers. Hey, call me! A flying pizza smacked him in the head, and he disappeared behind the couch. Then he popped up, still grinning, and made his way over. My favorite girl! He smelled like a wet goat wrapped in old cheese. He leaned over their couches, and checked out their food. Say, new kid, you gonna eat that? Percy frowned. Aren't fawns vegetarian? Not the cheeseburger, man. The plate! He sniffed Percy's hair. Hey, what's that smell? Dawn, Hazel said, don't be rude. No, man, their house god, Vitellius, shimmered into existence, standing half embedded in Frank's couch. Fawns in the dining hall. What are we coming to? Centaurian Dakota, do your duty. I am, Dakota grumbled to his goblet. I'm having dinner. Dawn was still sniffing around Percy. Man, you've got an empathy link with a fawn. Percy leaned away from him. Oh, what? Yeah, that's right, he still has it. An empathy link, it's real faint, like somebody suppressed it, but I know there, Nico said suddenly. Hazel, how about we give you and Frank time to get Percy oriented? Dakota and I can visit the Praetor's table. Dawn and Vitellius, you come too. We can discuss strategies for the war games. Strategies for losing, Dakota muttered. Death Boy is right, Vitellius said. This legion fights worse than we did in Judy. Well then stop sucking, bro. Lock in. And that was the first time we lost our eagle. Why, if I were in charge, could I just eat the silverware first? Dawn asked. Let's go. Nico stood and grabbed Dawn and Vitellius by the ears. Nobody but Nico could actually touch the layers, and Vitellius spluttered with outrage as he was dragged off to Praetor's table. Ow, Dawn protested. Man, watch the fro. Come on, Dakota. Nico called over his shoulder. The Centaurian got up reluctantly. He wiped his mouth, uselessly, since it was permanently stained red. Back soon? He shook all over, like a dog trying to get dry. Then he staggered away, with his goblet sloshing. What was that about? Percy asked. What's wrong with Dakota? Frank sighed. He's okay. He's son of Bacchus, the wine god. He's got a drinking problem. Percy's eyes widened. You let him drink wine? Gods know he's his son. That would be a disaster. He's addicted to red Kool-Aid. Drinks it with 3 times the normal sugar, and he's already ADHD. You know, attention deficit hyperactive. One of these days, his head is going to explode. That's so funny. It would be funnier if they just called it wine, but I guess they didn't do that because it's a kid's book, you know. But like, the Kool-Aid shit is funny. Percy looked over at the praetor's table. Most of the senior officers were in deep conversation with Rhena. NICO and his two captives, Don and Vitellius, stood in the periphery. Hoda was running back and forth along a line of stacked shields, banging his goblet on them like they were a xylophone. ADHD, Percy said. You don't say. Hazel tried not to laugh. Well, most demigods are. Or dyslexic. Just being a demigod means that our brains are wired differently, like you. You said you had trouble reading? Are you guys that way too, Percy asked? I don't know, Hazel admitted. Maybe. Back in my day, they just called kids like us lazy. Back in back in your day, Hazel cursed herself. Luckily for her, Frank spoke up. I wish I was ADHD or dyslexic. All I got is lactose intolerance. Percy grinned. Seriously? Frank might have been the silliest demigod ever, but Hazel thought he was cute when he pouted. His shoulders slumped, and I love ice cream too. Percy laughed. Hazel couldn't help joining in. It was good to sit at dinner and actually feel like she was among friends. Okay, so tell me, Percy said, why is it bad to be in the 5th cohort? You guys are great. The compliment made Hazel's toes tingle. It's complicated. Aside from being Pluto's kid, I want to ride horses. That's why I use a cavalry sword. She nodded. It's stupid, I guess. Wishful thinking. There's only one Pegasus at camp. Reyna's. The unicorns are just kept for medicine. Because the shavings off their horns cure poison and stuff. Anyway, Roman fighting is always done on foot. Cavalry, they kind of look down on that, so they look down on me. They're lost, Percy said. What about you, Frank? Archery, he muttered. They don't like that either, unless you're a child of Apollo. Then you've got an excuse. Oh, my dad is Apollo. I don't know. I can't do poetry very well. I'm not sure I want to be related to Octavian. Dang. If Hazel was from New Orleans, imagine if she has a thick Cajun accent like Gambit. That'd be so funny, bro. But I doubt it, because it's also so super old. Also, if you let me know if you guys can hear that really fucking loud TV in the background, because my dad's watching TV, and if he's, I'll fucking turn it down. But like, if it's not a big deal, then I won't. But I can hear it, so I'm curious if you guys can. Can't blame you, Percy said. I can't? Okay, good. But you're excellent with the bow. The way you peg those gorgons, forget what other people think. Frank's face turned as red as Dakota's Kool-Aid. Wish I could. They all think I should be a sword fighter because I'm big and bulky. He looked down in his body like he couldn't quite believe it was his. They say I'm too stocky for an archer. Maybe my dad would ever claim me. They ate in silence for a few minutes. A dad who wouldn't claim you. Hazel knew that feeling. She sensed Percy could relate too. You asked about the 5th, she said at last. Why it's the worst cohort? That actually started way before us. She pointed to the back wall, where the Legion's standards were on display. See the empty pole in the middle? The eagle? Percy said. Hazel's son, how'd you know? Percy shrugged. Vitellius was talking about how the Legion lost its eagle a long time ago. The first time he said he acted like it was a huge disgrace. I'm guessing that's what's missing. From the way you and Reyna were talking earlier, I'm guessing your eagle got lost a second time. More recently, it had something to do with the 5th cohort. Hazel made a mental note not to underestimate Percy again. When he first arrived, she thought he was a little goofy from the questions he'd asked about the Feast of Tuna and all. But clearly he was smarter than he let on. You're right, she said. That's exactly what happened. So what is this eagle anyway? Why is it a big deal? Frank looked around to make sure no one was eavesdropping. It's a symbol of the whole camp. A big eagle made of gold. It's supposed to protect us in battle and make our enemies afraid. Each legion's eagle gave it all sorts of powers, and ours came from Jupiter himself. Supposedly Julius Caesar nicknamed our legion Fulminata, armed with lightning because of what the eagle could do. I don't like lightning, Percy said. Yeah, well, Hazel said, it didn't make us invincible. 12th lost its eagle for the the first time way back in ancient days, during the Jewish rebellion. I think I saw a movie like that. Hazel shrugged. Could be. There have been lots of books and movies about legions losing their eagles. Unfortunately, it happened quite a few times. The eagle was so important. Well, archaeologists have never recovered a single eagle from ancient Rome. Each legion guarded theirs to the last man, because it was charged with the power of the gods. They'd rather hide it or melt it down than surrender it to an enemy. But Toth was lucky the first time. We got our eagle back. But the second time, you guys were there? Percy asked. They both shook their heads. I'm almost as new as you, Frank tapped his ratio point. Just got here last month. But everyone's heard the story. It's bad luck to even talk about this. There was this huge expedition to Alaska back in the 80s. The prophecy you noticed in the temple? Hazel continued. Don't know about the semi-demigods and the doors of death? Our senior praetor at the time was Michael Varus, from the 5th cohort. Back then, the 5th was the best in camp. He thought it would bring glory to the Legion if he could figure out the prophecy and make it come true. Save the world from storm and fire and all that. He talked to the augur, and the augur said the answer was in Alaska. But he warned Michael it wasn't the time yet. The prophecy wasn't for him, but he went anyway, Percy guessed. What happened? Frank lowered his voice. Long, gruesome story. Almost the entire 5th cohort was wiped out. Damn! Most of the Legion's Imperial gold weapons were lost, along with the Eagle. The survivors went crazy or refused to talk about what had attacked them. I know, Hazel thought solemnly, but she kept silent. Since the Eagle was lost, Frank continued, the camp has been getting weaker. Quests are more dangerous. Monsters attack the borders more often. Morale is lower. The last month or so, things have been getting much worse, much faster. So it's freaking Michael's fault that guy is doing all this. He fucking accelerated the prophecy and all. And the 5th cohort took the blame, Percy guessed. So now everyone thinks we're cursed. Hazel realized her gumbo was cold. She sipped a spoonful, but the comfort food didn't taste very comforting. We've been the outcast of the Legion since the last Alaska disaster. Her reputation got better when Jason became praetor. The kid who's missing, Percy asked. Yeah, Frank said. I never met him before my time, but I hear he was a good leader. He practically grew up in the 5th cohort. He didn't care about what people thought about us. He started to rebuild a reputation, then he disappeared. Which put us back to square one, Hazel said bitterly. Made us look cursed all over again. I'm sorry, Percy. Now, you know what we've gotten yourself into. Percy sipped his blue soda and gazed thoughtfully across the dining hall. I don't even know where I come from, but I've got a feeling this isn't the first time I've been an underdog. You better fucking believe it, Jackson. But never count Percy out. He focused on Hazel, a man just smiled. Besides, joining the Legion is better than being chased to the wilderness by monsters. I've got myself some new friends. Maybe together we can turn things around for the 5th cohort, huh? A horn blew at the end of the hall. The officers at the praetor's table got to their feet. Even Dakota, his mouth vampire red from Kool-Aid. The games begin, Reno announced. The campers cheered and rushed to collect their equipment from the stacks along the walls. Oh, let's go. So we're attacking. So we're the attacking team? Percy asked over the noise. Is that good? Hazel shrugged. Good news. We get the elephant. Bad news. Let me guess, said Percy. The 5th cohort always loses. Frank slapped Percy on the shoulder. I love this guy. Come on, new friend. Let's go chalk up my 13th defeat in a row. He may be the underdog, but that dog is in him. Better believe it. I think we'll finish off here and continue next stream with the War Games in full swing and read until 151. Is the War Games multiple chapters? Because if it's only the one chapter, I want to read it, especially since. Also, we've only been streaming for an hour. We got time. We got crazy time, dog. What are you talking about? What are you talking? Chapter 9 and Frank's the next chapter too. I want to see this. I feel we got time. I expected to be reading for at least 2 hours. You good with that? Yeah, man. I bet to be reading for at least 2 hours. We got 40 minutes left in this stream. Better believe it. Better believe I'm good with that. Yes. I want to read from Frank. Yeah. So yeah, don't even trip, dog. Don't even trip. But yes, I have a feeling. I have a Percy-like feeling that this will not be Frank's 13th defeat. I feel like Jackson's about to take a crazy dub. I feel like Jackson's about to finesse Aratang. This is like a interesting rehash. You know what's crazy? They didn't have Jason play Capture the Flag, did they? I feel like they should have had Jason play Capture the Flag, but they didn't. But they should have. But we're playing war games with Percy, so let's freaking go. Let's freaking go. Okay, yeah, let's keep going. We got hell of time. We got hell of time. We'll just read. War game starts after 2 chapters. We're chilling. We'll read until I feel like stopping. Which might be in 40 minutes because usually I get tired after 2 hours. But if not, I might read a little bit more than that. We'll see. Yeah. But Frank, I've been excited to get to Frank, which is also crazy. Frank as a name. 2 of my favorite series have characters named Frank: One Piece and Percy Jackson. That's so funny. You love to see it. As he marched to the war games, Frankly played the day in his mind. He couldn't believe how close he'd come to death. That morning on sentry duty, before Percy showed up, Frank had almost told Hazel his secret. Everybody has some shit! That's crazy. Rick, I think there's a more subtle way for you to, to introduce these personal stakes, my guy, with these characters. And that's my biggest critique so far. It's like the second you get to a new guy, it's like, and I have our secret, and it's like, okay, but it's not that big of a deal. Guys, the character writing is still pretty solid, but I don't know. Anyways, the 2 of them have been standing for hours in the chilly fog, watching the commuter traffic on Highway 24. Hazel had been complaining about the cold. I'd give anything to be warm, she said, her teeth chattering. I wish we had a fire. Even with her armor on, she looked great. Frank liked the way her cinnamon toast-colored hair curled around the edges of her helmet, and the way her BWAM. This is a BWAM relationship. Did I call Rick Frank? Did I? I might have. I don't know. I feel like I said Rick, but maybe I said Frank. I don't know. Regardless, I meant Frank. Damn it. I probably did. I meant Rick. Rick does this thing, and it's annoying. But whatever. But this is a BUM-ass relationship. Black women, Asian men. Her cinnamon toast-colored hair curled around the edges of her helmet, and the way her chin dimpled when she frowned. She was tiny compared to Frank, which made him feel like a big, clumsy ox. He wanted to put his arms around her to warm her up, but he'd never do that. He'd probably hit him, and he'd lose the only friend he had at camp. Never mind, I just have hearing problems. I could make a really impressive fire, he thought. Of course, it would only burn for a few minutes, and then I'd die. It was scary that he even considered it. Hazel had that effect on him. Whenever she wanted something, he had the irrational urge to provide it. Relatable. He wanted to be the old-fashioned knight riding to her rescue. Relatable. Which is stupid, as she was way more capable at everything than he was. Relatable. Oh my god. Can you imagine what his grandmother would say? Frank Zhang riding to the rescue? Huh. He'd fall off his horse and break his neck. Wow. El Grandma. Hard to believe it had only been six weeks since he'd left his grandmother's house. 6 weeks since his mom's funeral. Everything had happened since then. Wolves arriving at his grandmother's door, the journey to Camp Jupiter, the weeks he'd spent in the 5th cohort, trying not to be a complete failure. Through it all, he'd kept a half-burned piece of firewood wrapped in a cloth in his coat pocket. Keep it close, the grandmother had warned. As long as it is safe, you are safe. The problem was that it burned so easily. He remembered the trip south from Vancouver, when the temperature dropped below freezing near Mount Hood. Frank had brought out the piece of tinder and held it in his hand, imagining how nice it would be to have some fire. Immediately, the charred end blazed with a searing yellow flame. It lit up. The night warmed Frank to the bone, but he could feel his life slipping away, as if he were being consumed rather than the wood. He thrust the flame into a snowbank. For a horrible moment, it kept burning. When it finally went out, Frank got his panic under control. He wrapped the piece of wood and put it back in his coat pocket, determined not to bring it out again. But he couldn't forget it. It was as though someone had said, "Whatever you do, don't think about that stick bursting into flame." So of course, that's all he thought about. On sentry duty with Hazel, he would try to make his mind off it. He loved spending time with her. He asked her about growing up in New Orleans, but she got edgy at his questions. They made small talk instead. Just for fun, they tried to speak French to each other. Hazel had some Creole blood on her mother's side. Frank had taken French in school. Neither of them was very fluent. Louisiana French was so different from Canadian French, it was almost impossible to converse. When Frank asked Hazel how her beef was feeling today, and she replied that his shoe was green, they decided to give up. Then Percy Jackson arrived. Sure, Frank had seen kids fight monsters before. He never fought plenty of them himself on his journey from Vancouver, but he'd never seen Gorgons. He'd never seen a goddess in person. And the way Percy had controlled the little Tiber, wow, Frank wished he had powers like that. He could still feel Gorgon's claw all pressing into his arms and smell their snaky breath, like dead mice and poison. If not for Percy, those grotesque hags would have carried him away. He'd be a pile of bones in the back of the bargain mart by now. After the incident at the river, Raina had sent Frank to the armory, which had given him way too much time to think. While he polished swords, he remembered Juno, warning them to unleash death. Unfortunately, Frank had a pretty good idea of what the goddess meant. He had tried to hide his shock when Juno had appeared, but she looked exactly like his grandmother had described, right down to the goatskin cape. "She chose your path years ago," grandmother had told him, "and it will not be easy." Jesus Christ, eyes, stop itching. Frank glanced at his bow in the corner of the armory. He'd feel better if Apollo would claim him as a son. Frank had been sure his godly parent would speak up on his 16th birthday, which had passed 2 weeks ago. Damn. 16 was an important milestone for Romans. It had been Frank's first birthday at camp, but nothing had happened. Now Frank hoped he would be claimed on the Feast of Fortuna. Though, from what Juno said, they'd be in battle for their lives on that day. His father had to be Apollo. Archery was the only thing Frank was good at, so it's obviously not Apollo. Years ago, his mother had told him that their family name, Zhang, meant master of bows in Chinese. There must have been a hint about his dad. Frank put down his polishing rags. He looked at the ceiling. "Please, Apollo, if you're my dad, tell me. I want to be an archer like you." "No, you don't," a voice grumbled. Frank jumped out of his seat. Vitellius, the 5th cohort's lair, was shimmering behind him. His full name was Gaius Vitellius Reticulus. What a sick name. Oh my god. Gaius Vitellius Reticulus. But the other cohorts called him Vitellius the Ridiculous. Hazel Levesque sent me to check on you. Vitellius said, hiking up his sword belt. "Good thing, too. Look at the state of this armor." Vitellius wasn't the one to talk. His toga was baggy, his tunic barely fit over his belly, and his scabbard fell off his belt every 3 seconds, but Frank didn't bother pointing that out. As for archers, the ghost said, they're wimps. Back in my day, archery was a job for barbarians. A good Roman should be in the fray, gutting his enemy with spear and sword, like a civilized man. That's how we did it in the Punic Wars. Rowing up, boy. Frank sighed. I thought you were in Caesar's army. I was. Vitellius, Caesar was hundreds of years after the Punic Wars. You couldn't have been alive that long. Questioning my honor? Vitellius looked so mad. His purple aura glowed. He drew his ghostly gladius and yelled, "Take that!" He ran the sword, which was about as deadly as a laser pointer, through Frank's chest a few times. Ouch, Frank said, just to be nice. Vitellius looked satisfied and put his sword away. Perhaps you'll think twice about doubting your elders next time. Now it was your 16th birthday recently, wasn't it? Frank nodded. He wasn't sure how Vitellius knew that, since Frank hadn't told anyone except Hazel. The ghost had ways of finding out secrets. Eavesdropping while invisible was probably one of them. So that's why you're such a grumpy gladiator. Belar said, understandable. The 16th birthday is your day of manhood. Your godly parents should have claimed you. No doubt about it. Even if, with only a small omen, perhaps he thought you were younger. You looked younger, you know, with that pudgy baby face. Thanks for reminding me, Frank muttered. Yes, I remember my 16th, Vitellius said happily. Wonderful omen. A chicken in my underpants. Excuse me? Vitellius puffed with pride. That's right. I was at the river changing my clothes for Liberalia. Rite of passage into manhood, you know. We did things properly back then. I taken off my childhood toga and was washing up to don the adult one. Suddenly a pure white chicken ran out of nowhere and dove into my loincloth. It ran off with it. I wasn't wearing it at the time. That's good, Frank said. And I can just say, can I just say, too much information. Vitellius wasn't listening. That was a sign I was descended from Aesculapius? Yeah, that's it, Aesculapius, the god of medicine. I took my cognomen, my third name, Reticulus, because it meant undergarment. Wow. I would have picked something different, brother. To remind me of the blessed day when a chicken stole my loincloth. So your name means Mr. Underwear? Praise the gods! I became a sergeant in the Legion, and the rest is history. Wow. I would have picked a different name. He spread his arm generously. Don't give up, my boy. Maybe your father is running late. Most omens are not as dramatic as a chicken, of course. I know a fellow once. We got a dung beetle. Thanks, Vitellius said. But I have to finish polishing the disarmor. Oh, so their claiming is not as dramatic as Trunk's ass name. Yeah, their claiming is not as dramatic as the Camp Half-Blood with the fucking symbol above the head. They get like subtle signs. But I have to finish polishing my armor. And the Gorgon's blood? Frank froze. He hadn't told anyone about that. As far as he knew, only Percy had seen him pocket the vials at the river, and they hadn't had a chance to talk about it. Come now, Vitellius chided. I'm a healer. I know the legends about Gorgon blood. Show me the vials. Reluctantly, Frank brought out the 2 ceramic flasks he'd retrieved from the little Tiber. Spoils of war were often left behind when a monster dissolved. Sometimes a tooth or a weapon, or even the monster's entire head. Frank had known what the 2 vials were immediately. By tradition, they belonged to Percy, who had killed the Gorgon, but Frank couldn't help thinking, what if I could use them? Yes, Vitellius said the vials weakly. Blood taken from the right side of Gorgon's body can cure any disease, even bring the dead back to life. The goddess Minerva once gave a vial of it to my divine ancestor, Aesculapius, but blood taken from the left side of a Gorgon, instantly fatal. So which is which? Frank looked down at the vials. I don't know. They're identical. Ha! But you're hoping the right vial could solve your problem with the burned stick, eh? Well, probably just give her one, and then if it doesn't work, give her the other. But if the first one works, then you're fine. I imagine that would be how you do it. Maybe break your curse? Frank was so stunned he couldn't talk. Oh, don't worry, my boy, the ghost chuckled. I won't tell anyone. I'm a Lar, a protector of the cohort. I wouldn't do anything to endanger you. Like, everybody's got a freaking curse, bro. Freaking Leo's got a curse, and Piper's got a curse, and freaking Hazel's got a curse, and Frank's got a curse. They all got a freaking curse. Maybe that's a theme. Maybe that's a series theme. Something to ponder on. You stab me to the chest with your sword. Trust me, boy, I have sympathy for you. Carrying the curse of the Argonaut. The what? Vitellius waved away the question. Don't be modest. You've got ancient roots, Greek as well as Roman. It's no wonder Juno tilted his head, as if listening to a voice from above. His face went slack. His entire aura flickered green. But I've said enough. At any rate, I'll let you work out who lets the Gorgon's blood. I suppose that newcomer Percy could use it too, with his memory problem. Oh, maybe. Frank wondered what Vitellius had been about to say, what would have made him so scared, but he got the feeling that for once Vitellius was going to keep his mouth shut. He looked down at the two vials. He hadn't even thought of Percy's needing them. He felt guilty that he'd been intending to use them for the blood for himself. Yeah, of course, he should have it. But if you want my advice, Vitellius looked up nervously again. You should both wait on the Gorgon blood. If my sources are right, you're going to need it on your quest. Quest! The doors of the armory flew open. Rena stormed in with her metal greyhounds. Vitellius vanished. He might have liked chickens, but he did not like the praetor's dogs. Frank, Rena looked troubled. That's enough with the armor. Go find Hazel. Get Percy Jackson down here. He's been up there too long. I don't want Octavian, she hesitated. Just get Percy down here. So Frank had run all the way to Temple Hill. Walking back, Percy had asked tons of questions about Hazel's brother, NICO, but Frank didn't know that much. He's okay, Frank said. He's not like Hazel. How do you mean? Percy asked. Frank coughed. He meant that Hazel was better looking and nicer, but he decided not to say that. NICO was kind of mysterious. He makes everybody else nervous, being the son of Pluto and all. But not you? Frank shrugged. Pluto's cool. It's not his fault he runs the underworld. He just got bad luck when the gods were dividing up the world. You know, Jupiter got the sky, Neptune got the sea, Pluto got the shaft. Death doesn't scare you. Frank almost wanted to laugh. Not at all. Got a match? Instead, he said, back in the old times, like the Greek times, when Pluto was called Hades, he was more of a death god. When he became Roman, he got more, respectable. He became the god of wealth, too. Everything under the earth belongs to him. But I don't think of him as being real scary. Percy scratched his head. How does a god become Roman? If he's Greek, wouldn't he stay Greek? Frank walked a few steps, thinking about... Camp Half-Blood is definitely older than fucking Camp Jupiter. Thinking about that. Vitellius would have given Percy an hour-long lecture on the subject, probably with the PowerPoint presentation, but Frank took his best shot. The way Romans saw it, they adopted the Greek stuff and perfected it. Percy made a sour face. Perfected it? Like there was something wrong with that. Like, how dare you perfect my shit? You can't perfect my shit. Percy is cursed with godly charm and being a prophecy magnet. The Annabeth is cursed with Percy. Facts. Frank remembered what Vitellius had said. You've got ancient roots, Greek as well as Roman. His grandmother had said something similar. Interesting. I don't know, he admitted. Rome was more successful than Greece. They made this huge empire. The gods became a bigger deal in Roman times. More powerful and widely known. That's why they're still around today. So many civilizations based themselves on Rome. The gods changed to Romans because that's where the center of power was. Wait till you find out. Jupiter was, more responsible as a Roman god than he had been when he was Zeus. Mars became a lot more important and disciplined, and Juno became a hippie bag lady, Percy noted. So you're saying the old Greek gods, they just changed permanently to Roman. There's nothing left of the Greek. Flegg looked around to make sure there were no campers or lairs nearby, but the main gates were still 100 yards away. That's a sensitive topic. Some people say Greek influence is still around. Like it's a part of the gods' personalities. I've heard stories of demigods occasionally leaving Camp Jupiter. They reject Roman training and try to follow the older Greek style, like being solo heroes instead of working as a team the way the Legion does. Interesting. So Greek heroes are solo dolo. That's interesting. That's why Percy's so tough, because he's a solo one. And back in the ancient days, when Rome fell, the eastern half of the empire survived. The Greek half. Percy started him. I didn't know that. It was called Byzantium. Frank liked saying that word. It sounded cool. The Eastern Empire lasted another 1,000 years, but it was always more Greek than Roman. For those of us who follow the Roman way, it's kind of a sore subject. That's why whatever country we settle in, Camp Jupiter is always in the west, the Roman part of the territory. The east is considered bad luck. Percy frowned. Frank couldn't blame him for feeling confused. The Greek-Roman stuff gave him a headache too. They reached the gates. I'll take you to the baths to get cleaned up, Frank said, but first, about those vials. I found at the river. Gorgon's blood, Percy said. 1 vial heals, and is deadly poison. Frank's eyes widened. You know that? You know about that? Listen, I wasn't going to keep them, I know why you did it, Frank. You do? Yeah, Percy smiled. If I'd come into camp carrying a vial of poison, that would have looked bad. You were trying to protect me. Percy, you stupid idiot. Oh, right. Frank wiped the sweat off his palms. But if we could figure out which vial was which, it might heal your memory. Percy's smile faded. He gazed across the hills. Maybe I guess. We should hang on to those vials for now. There's a battle coming. We may need them to save lives. Frank stared at them, a little bit in awe. Percy had a chance to get his memory back, and he was more willing to wait in case someone else needed the vial more. Romans are supposed to be unselfish and help their comrades, but Frank wasn't sure anyone else at camp would have made that choice. So you don't remember anything, Frank. Dude, Percy's just the hero! Oh my god. Frank asked, your family friends? Percy fingered the clay beads around his neck. Only glimpses, murky stuff. A girlfriend, I thought she'd be at camp. He looked at Frank carefully as if making a decision. Her name was Annabeth. You don't know her, do you? Frank shook his head. I know everybody at camp. I know Annabeth. What about your family? Is your mom mortal? I guess so. She's probably worried out of her mind. She's probably not, to be honest. Sally's probably like, yeah, he'll be back, whatever. He's off doing his hero shit, you know, saving the world, whatever. He always survives. Plus, he's invincible. She still thinks he's invincible. She's probably worried out of her mind. Does your mom get to see you much? Brings up to the bathhouse entrance. He grabbed some towels from the supply shed. She died. Percy knit his brow. How? Usually Frank would lie. He'd say an accident shut off the conversation, otherwise his emotion got out of control. He couldn't cry at Camp Jupiter. He couldn't show weakness. But with Percy, Frank found it easier to talk. She died in the war, he said. Afghanistan. She was in the military. Canadian, yeah. Canada. I didn't know. Most Americans don't. Frank sighed, but yeah. Canada has troops there. My mom was a captain. She was one of the first women to die in combat. She saved some soldiers who were pinned down by an enemy fire. She didn't make it. The funeral was right before I came down here. Percy nodded. He didn't ask for more details, which Frank appreciated. He didn't say he was sorry or make any of the well-meaning comments Frank always hated. Oh, you poor guy. That must be so hard on you. You have my deepest condolences. It was like Percy had faced death before, like he knew about grief. What mattered was listening. You didn't need to say you were sorry. The other thing that helped was moving forward. How about you show me the baths now? Percy suggested. I'm filthy. Frank managed to smile. Yeah, you kind of are. As they walked into the steam room, Frank thought of his grandmother, his mom, and his cursed childhood. Thanks to Juno and her piece of firewood, he almost wished he could forget his past the way Percy had. Interesting. Sally has Paul to keep her occupied. Probably, yeah. I like that. I wasn't so sure. At the beginning of the Frank chapter, I was like, I don't know. Curses, yada, yada, yada. But towards the end with the Percy conversation, I really liked that a lot more. I felt that was really strong. And I also felt that that curse thing might be a theme, which would end up being really cool. They're characterizing Percy really well in this from other people's perspectives, which I also really like. Like, this is the first time you're getting to see how other people perceive Percy. It's fleshing out his character a lot more, because in the original series, you really only get to see what Percy thinks about himself, and just know what Percy does and how he feels about every action, which is nice and which is fun. You see how he thinks about other people, whatever. But part of a well-rounded character is the effects that he has on other people. So Percy can imagine, oh, Annabeth is happy about this, or Grover is happy about that, and he can assume whatever. But like, knowing that, like, oh, Percy makes me feel comfortable, Percy makes me this, Percy makes me that, is really making me start to like him more as a character, and I already liked him a lot. So yeah, this is probably some of the coolest Percy stuff in character-wise we've gotten in the entire series. Like, he's had some great moments, obviously. A lot of great ones in the Battle of Labyrinth, a lot of great ones in The Last Olympian, Titan's Curse especially. Great moments in every single book that, like, define who he is as a person. But the effect he has on other people is like, the effect your protagonist has on others is just one of my favorite things that you do in a story. And so I really like that they're exploring that a lot more. Percy's just a chill guy. He's just a nice dude. And he's just a fucking badass, man. And he's like, it's great. He's a shonen protag, really. But yeah, this, I'm gonna read chapter 10. Depending on how it ends, depending on how I feel, this might be the last one. We'll see. But I definitely am gonna read chapter 10 now, because I do want to another Frank chapter before I go. But yeah. So yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Frank didn't remember much about the funeral itself, but he remembered the hours leading up to it. His grandmother coming out into the backyard to find him shooting arrows at her porcelain collection. His grandmother's house was a rambling gray stone mansion on 12 acres in North Vancouver. Her backyard ran straight into Lynn Canyon Park. Also, something I noticed, which was interesting. Rick's trying really hard to diversify his racial cast, which is probably something he wasn't super conscious of when he wrote the first series, but after he was like, shit, this motherfucker's white, let me try, so fucking shit, Jason, I guess he's a white guy, Castalia is, and then Hyper's Native American, and then Leo's Hispanic, and then Frank is Asian, and then Hazel's black, like, so, yeah, but, so, which also makes sense as to why, like, he doesn't really care about the races of the kids in the live action, because, like, later on Rick was like, everybody's different, whatever, because he was like, Percy's white, and Annabeth's white, and Grover's also white, and Luke is white, and yeah, and Clarice is white, so anyways, his grandmother, why do I not remember, whatever. The funeral itself, but you remember the hours leading up to it. His grandmother coming out of his porcelain backyard to find him shooting arrows out of his porcelain collection. His grandmother's house was a rambling gray stone, mansion on 12 acres in North Vancouver. Her backyard ran straight into the Lynn Canyon Park. The morning was cold and drizzly, but Frank didn't feel the chill. He wore a black wool suit and black overcoat that had once belonged to his grandmother. Frank had been startled and upset to find that they fit him fine. The clothes swelled like wet mothballs and jasmine. The fabric was itchy but warm. With his bow and quiver, he probably looked like a very dangerous butler. He loaded some of his grandmother's porcelain in a wagon and toted it into the yard. And we set up targets on old fences at the edge of the property. He'd been shooting so long, his fingers were starting to lose their feeling. With every arrow, he imagined he was striking down his problems. Snipers in Afghanistan. Smash! A teapot exploded with an arrow through the middle. The sacrifice medal silver on the sacrifice medal. Whoa, words! The sacrifice medal. a silver disc on a red and black ribbon. Jesus Christ, sentences, read them. Given for death in a line of duty, presented to Frank as if it were something important, something that made everything all right. Thwack! A teacup spun into the woods. The officer who came to tell him, "Your mother is a hero. Captain Emily Zhang died trying to save her comrades." Crack! A blue and white plate split into pieces. His grandmother's chastisement: "Men do not cry, especially Zhang men. Rule endure, fight." No one called him Phi except for his grandmother. "What sort of name is Frank?" she would scold. "That is not a Chinese name." "I'm not Chinese," Frank thought, but he didn't dare say that. His mother had told him years ago, there was no arguing with grandmother. It will only make you suffer worse. She'd been right, and now Frank had no one except his grandmother. Thud. A fourth arrow hit the fence post and stuck there, quivering. "Phi!" his grandmother said. Frank turned. She was clutching a shoebox-sized mahogany chest that Frank had never seen before. With her high-collared black dress and severe bun of gray hair, she looked like a school teacher from the 1800s. She surveyed the carnage, the porcelain in the wagon, the shards of her favorite tea sets scattered over the lawn, Frank's arrow sticking out of the ground, the tees and fence posts, in one in the head, the smiling garden gnome. Frank thought she would yell or hit him with the box. He'd never done anything this bad before. He never felt so angry. Grandmother's face was full of bitterness and disapproval. She looked nothing like Frank's mom. He wondered how his mother had turned out to be so nice, always laughing, always gentle. Frank couldn't imagine his mom growing up with his grandmother any more than he could imagine her on the battlefield. The two situations probably weren't that different. He waited for grandmother to explode. Maybe he'd be grounded. It wouldn't have to go to the funeral. He wanted to get hurt. He wanted to hurt her for being so mean all the time, for letting his mother go off to war, for scolding him to get over it. And all she cared about was her stupid collection. "Stop this ridiculous behavior," grandmother said. She didn't sound very irritated. "It is beneath you." To Frank's astonishment, she kicked aside one of her favorite teacups. "The car will be here soon," she said. "We must talk." Frank was dumbfounded. He looked more closely at the mahogany box. For a horrible moment, he wondered if it contained his mother's ashes. But that was impossible. Grandmother had told him there would be a military burial. And why did grandmother hold the box so gingerly, as if its contents grieved her? Yo, Madsen freaking Muir. Where the fuck have you been, dude? We have been theorizing, wondering if you will ever return, and there you are. Love to see it. He is trying to get the demigod Power Rangers together. That tickled me. I love that. Yes, they are the freaking Power Rangers, dude. Percy's red, Jason's blue, freaking Annabeth is yellow, Hazel, Piper is pink, Leo is green, and Frank and Hazel are gold and silver. That's why I really like the third person glimpse of everything. You see the main characters and other perspectives, and yeah, like you said, how they influence others. It's really necessary in my opinion. I really agree. I really agree. I like first person perspective a lot, and I like third person, but I feel like character perspective is a really nice like happy medium that I think is probably the most effective in books. I have to read more, but I've read Game of Thrones. At least a lot of the first bit of Game of Thrones. It was a while ago, so I have to read it again. But like I would imagine it's the most effective to kind of like keep you close to the characters, but also not keep you so closed off that it just feels like Percy syndrome in the first one, where like if a tree falls in the woods and Percy's not around to see it, you know, if an important plot should happen, the Percy's not around to see it, nothing important happens. Or like in third person, where you're just so disconnected. I feel like this is a nice medium. Obviously, it kind of has its kind of issues too, because in third person you can probably just kind of move the camera around, the camera so to speak, wherever you want in the book, and just kind of put you wherever, and you're always confined to a character. But I feel like this is still probably maybe my preferred method of writing. I have to think on that. Dude, long time no see. I've been lost, bro. What do you mean you've been lost? YouTube.com has not changed. What do you mean you've been lost? Come inside, she said. Without waiting to see if he would follow, she turned and marched toward the house. In the parlor, Frank sat on the velvet sofa, surrounded by vintage family photos, porcelain vases that had been too large for his wagon, and red Chinese calligraphy banners. Frank didn't know what the calligraphy said. He never had much interest in learning. He didn't know most of the people in the photographs either. Whenever grandmother started lecturing him about his ancestors, and they'd come over from China and prospered in the important export business, eventually becoming one of the wealthiest Chinese families in Vancouver. While it was boring, Frank was fourth-generation Canadian. He didn't care about China and all these musty antiques. The only Chinese characters he would recognize were his family name, Zhang, Master of Bows. That was cool. Interesting. Grandmother sat next to him, her posture stiff, her hands folded over the box. Your mother wanted you to have this, she said with reluctance. She kept it since you were a baby. When she went away to the war, she entrusted it to him. But now she is gone. And soon you will be going too. Frank's stomach fluttered. Going where? I am old, grandmother said, as if that were a surprising announcement. I have my appointment with death soon enough. I cannot teach you the skills you will need, and I cannot keep this burden. If something were to happen to it, I would never forgive myself. You would die. Rick wasn't sure he'd heard her right. It sounded like she had said his life was dependent on that box. The literal baddest girl in my school likes me for some reason. I'm low-key gay, but this shit overrides my game. Brother, well, you gotta pick and choose then. You gotta pick. Are you gonna go for the baddie, or are you gonna stick to your gayness, bro? I cannot decide for you. Only you. This is the path you go down. I cannot follow. Only you can decide. But lock in, brother. He wondered why he'd never seen it before. She must have kept it locked in the attic. The one room Frank was forbidden to explore. She'd always said she'd kept her most valuable treasures up there. She handed the box to him. He opened the lid with trembling fingers. Inside, cushioned in velvet lining was terrifying, life-altering, incredibly important piece of wood. It looked like driftwood, hard and smooth, sculpted into a wavy shape. It was about the size of a TV remote control. The tip was charred. Frank touched the burned end. It still felt warm. The ashes left a black smudge on his finger. It's a stick, he said. He couldn't figure out why grandmother was acting so tense and serious about it. Her eyes glittered. Fight. Do you know of prophecies? Do you know of the gods? The question made him uncomfortable. Ooh, I wonder, dude. Oh, if Rick wrote a Chinese mythology book, like Journey to the West, that goes so crazy, dog. The questions made him uncomfortable. He thought about grandmother's silly gold statues of Chinese immortals, her superstitions of putting furniture in certain places and avoiding unlucky numbers. Prophecies made him think of fortune cookies, which weren't even Chinese. Not really. But the boys at school teased him about stupid stuff like that. Confucius say, all that garbage. Confucius say memes are so funny. Frank had never been to China. He wanted nothing to do with it. But of course, grandmother didn't want to hear that. A little grandmother, he said. Not much. Most would have scoffed at your mother's tale, she said, but I did not. I know of prophecies and gods. Greek, Roman, Chinese, they intertwine in our family. I did not question what she told me about your father. Wait, what? Your father was a god, she said plainly. If grandmother had had a sense of humor, Frank would have thought she was kidding, but grandmother never teased. Was she going senile? Stop gaping at me, she snapped. My mind is not addled. The way Rick is writing this fucking old Asian grandma is so funny. It's just very like I don't know, classic like old like anime lady who's like wise beyond her years. Haven't you ever wondered why your father never came back? Frank faltered. Losing his mother was painful enough. He didn't want to think about his father, too. He was in the army like Mom. He went missing in action in Iraq. Bah! He was a god. He fell in love with your mother because she was a natural warrior. She was like me. Strong, brave, good, beautiful. Strong and brave, Frank could believe. Picturing grandmother as a good or beautiful was more difficult. He still suspected she might be losing her marbles, but he asked what kind of god. Roman, she said. Beyond that, I don't know. Your mother wouldn't say, or perhaps she didn't know herself. It is no surprise a god would fall in love with her, given our family. He must have known she was of ancient blood. Wait, we're Chinese. Oh, Roman gods want to date Chinese Canadians. Grandmother's nostrils flared. If you bother to learn the family history, Phi, you might know this. China and Rome are not so different. Interesting. Nor as separate as you might believe. Our family is from Gansu province, a town once called Lijin. And before that, as I said, ancient blood. The blood of princes and heroes. Rick is very up to date on his cultural history as well as mythological history, and the way he merges real world history with myth history is super interesting and really cool, and I'm a big fan of it. Frank just stared at her. She sighed in exasperation. My words are wasted on this young ox. You'll learn the truth when you go to camp. Perhaps your father will claim you, but for now, I must explain the firewood. She pointed at the big stone fireplace. Shortly after you were born, a visitor appeared at our hearth. Your mother and I sat here on the couch, just where you and I are sitting. You were a tiny thing, swaddled in a blue blanket as she cradled you in her arms. It sounded like a sweet memory, but grandmother told it in a bitter tone. Even if she knew, even then, that Frank would return into a big, lumbering oaf. As a woman appeared at the fire, she continued. She was a white woman, a guaipo, dressed in blue silk, with a strange cloak like the skin of a goat. A goat, Frank said numbly. Grandmother scowled. Yes, clean your ears, Fai Zhang. You're too old to tell every story twice. I love you, Grandma. The woman with the goat skin was a goddess. I can always tell these things. And she smiled at the baby, at you. And she told your mother, in perfect Mandarin no less, he will close the circle. He will return your family to its roots and bring you great honor. Grandmother snorted. I do not argue with goddesses, but perhaps this one did not see the future clearly. Whatever the case, she said, he will go to camp and restore your reputation. There, he will free Thanatos from his icy chains. Thanatos! Interesting. Wait, who? Thanatos, grandmother said. The Greek name for death. Interesting. Now, may I continue without interruptions, the goddess said. The blood of Pylos is strong in this child. From his mother's side, he will have the Zhang family gift, but he will also have the power of his father. Suddenly, Frank's family history didn't seem so boring. He desperately wanted to ask what it all meant. Powers, gifts, blood of Pylos. What was his camp, and who was his father? But he didn't want to interrupt grandmother again. He wanted her to keep talking. No power comes without a price, Phi, she said. Before the goddess disappeared, she pointed at the fire and said, he will be the strongest of your clan, and the greatest, but the fates have decreed he will also be the most vulnerable. His life will burn bright and short as soon as that piece of tinder is consumed, that stick at the edge of the fire. Your son is destined to die. Hera was out here planning chess moves decades before the pieces fall into place, bro. Is Hera actually goated? Is Hera secretly cracked? Hera's slowly becoming one of my favorite gods. Frank could hardly breathe. He looked at the box in his lap in the smudge. I wonder if Rick's actually gonna kill off Frank, because that'd be crazy if he did. He put the box in his lap, and the smudge of ash on his finger. The story sounded ridiculous, but suddenly the piece of driftwood seemed more sinister, colder, and heavier. This. Yes, my thick-headed ox, grandmother said. That is the very stick. The goddess disappeared, and I snatched the wood from the fire immediately. We have kept it ever since. If it burns, I die. It is not so strange, grandmother said. Roman, Chinese, the destinies of men can often be predicted, and sometimes guarded against, at least for a time. The firewood is in your possession now. Keep it close. As long as it is safe, you are safe. Interesting. Frank shook his head. He wanted to protest that this was just a stupid legend. Maybe grandmother was trying to scare him as some sort of revenge for breaking her porcelain, but her eyes were defiant. She seemed to be challenging Frank. If you do not believe it, burn it. Frank closed the box. If it's so dangerous, why not seal the wood in something that won't burn, like plastic or steel? Why not put it in a safe deposit box? What would happen? Grandmother wondered. If we coated the stick in another substance, would you too suffocate? I do not know. Your mother would not take that risk. She couldn't bear to part with it, for fear something would go wrong. Banks can be robbed, buildings can burn down, strange things can conspire when one tries to cheat fate. That's facts. Your mother was smart for that. Your mother thought the stick was only safe in her possession until she went to war. Then she gave it to me. Grandmother exhaled sourly. Emily was foolish. Going to war, though, I suppose I always knew was her destiny. She hoped to meet your father again. She thought he'd be in Afghanistan. Grandmother spread her hands, as if this was beyond her understanding. She died bravely. She thought the family gift would protect her. No doubt, that's how she saved those soldiers. But the gift has never kept our family safe. It did not help my father or his father. It did not help me, and now you have become a man. You must follow the path. But what path? What's our gift? Archery? Join your archery, foolish boy. Soon you will find out. Tonight, after the funeral, you must go south. Your mother said if you did not come back from combat, Olympus would send messengers. They will escort you to a place where the children of gods can be trained for their destiny. Frank looked as if he were being shot with arrows. His heart did. How do you even deal with this information? Like, I'm not gonna lie, if I was just going about my day, and like freaking sitting in my room and playing some freaking video games, and my mom walked in and she was like, Kyler, your father is a god. Okay. So pack your bags, cause monsters are coming, and we're gonna have to book. We're taking you to account. I'll be like, what? What do you mean? Like, that's such a crazy thing to wrap your head around. He didn't understand most of what grandmother said, but one thing was clear: she was kicking him out. You just let me go? He asked. Your last family? Grandmother's mouth quivered. Her eyes looked moist. Frank was shocked to realize she was near tears. She'd lost her husband years ago, then her daughter, and now she was about to send her only grandson away. But she rose from the couch and stood tall, her posture as stiff and correct as ever. When you arrive at camp, she instructed, you must speak to the praetor in private. Tell her your great-grandfather was Shen Lun. It has been many years since the San Francisco incident. Hopefully they will not kill you for what he did, but you might want to beg for forgiveness for his actions. This is sounding better and better, Frank mumbled. The goddess said you would bring our family full circle. Grandmother's voice had no trace of sympathy. She chose your path years ago, and it will not be easy. But now it is time for the funeral. We have obligations. Come, the car will be waiting. The ceremony was a blur. Solemn faces, the patter of rain on the graveside awning, the crack of rifles from the honor guard, the casket sinking into the earth. That night, the wolves came. They howled on the front porch. Frank came out to meet them. He took his travel pack, his warmest clothes, his bow, and his quiver. His mother's sacrifice medal was tucked in his pack. The charred stick was wrapped carefully in 3 layers of cloth in his coat pocket next to his heart. His journey south began to the Wolf House in Sonoma, and eventually to Camp Jupiter, where he spoke to Raina privately as his grandmother instructed. He begged forgiveness for his great-grandfather he knew nothing about. Raina let him join the Legion. She never did tell him about his great-grandfather had done, but she obviously knew Frank could tell it was bad. I judge people by their own merits, Raina had told him, but do not mention the name Shenlong to anyone else. It must remain our secret, or you'll be treated badly. So that's his secret, I guess. I am God Boy, and so are you, Kratos randomly to his son. Unfortunately, Frank didn't have any merits. His first month at camp was spent knocking over rows of weapons, breaking chariots, tripping entire cohorts as they marched. His favorite job was caring for the Hannibal elephant, but he managed to mess that up too, giving Hannibal indigestion by feeding him peanuts. He knew elephants could be peanut intolerant. Frank figured Raina was regretting her decision to let him join. Every day he woke up wondering if the stick would somehow catch fire and burn, and he would cease to exist. All of this ran through Frank's head as he walked with Hazel and Percy to the war games. He thought about the stick wrapped inside his coat pocket, and what it meant that Juno had appeared at camp. Was he about to die? He hoped not. He hadn't brought his family any honor yet. That was for sure. Maybe Apollo would claim him today, to explain his powers and gifts. Once they got out of camp, the 5th cohort formed 2 lines behind their centurions, Dakota and Gwen. They marched north, skirting the edge of the city, and headed to the Field of Mars, the largest, flattest part of the valley. The grass was cropped short by all the unicorns, bulls, and homeless fawns that grazed here. The earth was pitted with explosions, craters, and scarred with trenches from past games. At the north end of the field stood their target. The engineers had built a stone fortress with an iron portcullis, that's a word, guard towers and scorpion ballistae, water cannons, and no doubt many others, nasty surprises for the defenders to use. They did a good job today, Hazel noted. That's bad for us. Wait, Percy said, you're telling me that fortress was built today? That's absurd. That's absurd. Hazel grinned. Legionnaires are trained to build. If we had to, we could break down the entire camp and rebuild it somewhere else. Take maybe 3 or 4 days, but we could do it. That's crazy. Let's not, Percy said. So you attack a different fort every night? Not every night, Frank said. We have a different training exercises. Sometimes death ball, which is like paintball, except with, poison, acid, and fireballs. Sometimes we do chariots and gladiator competitions. Sometimes war games. Okay. Sure. I don't feel like there's something in my teeth. I don't know. I haven't eaten anything. Hazel pointed at the fort. Somewhere inside, the 1st and 2nd cohorts are keeping their banners. Our job is to get inside and capture them without getting slaughtered. We do that, we win. So somewhere inside, the 1st and 2nd cohorts are keeping. Okay, yeah, that is capture the flag. Like capture the flag, I think. I like capture the flag. Frank laughed. Yeah, well, it's harder than it sounds. You have to get past those scorpions and water cannons on the walls, right through the insides of the fortress, and find the banners and defeat the guards, all while protecting our own banners and troops from capture. And our cohort is in competition with the other 2 attacking cohorts. We sort of work together, but not really. The cohort that captures the banner gets all the glory. Percy stumbled, trying to keep time with the left-right marching rhythm. Frank sympathized and spent his first 2 weeks falling down. So why are we practicing this anyway? Percy asked. You guys spend a lot of time laying siege to fortified cities? Teamwork, Hazel said. Quick thinking, tactics, battle skills. You'd be surprised what you can learn in the war games. Like, who will stab you in the back, Frank said. Especially that, Hazel agreed. They marched to the center of the Field of Mars and formed ranks. The 3rd and 4th cohorts assembled as far as possible from the 5th. Centaurians for the attacking side gathered for a conference in the sky above them. Reyna circled on her Pegasus, Scipio, ready to play referee. Okay, so Reyna's not in the war games. Reyna's just watching. Half a dozen giant eagles flew in formation behind her, prepared for ambulance airlift duty if necessary. The only person not participating in the games was NICO D'Angelo, Pluto's ambassador. What a hard fucking nickname. Who had climbed an observation tower about 100 yards from the fort and be watching with binoculars, of course. Frank propped his pylon against his shield and checked Percy's armor. Every strap was correct. Every piece of armor was properly adjusted. You did it right, said Nathan. Percy, you must have done war games before. I don't know, maybe. Listen, I'm Percy Jackson. I play Capture the Flag all the time. The only thing that wasn't regulation was Percy's glowing bronze sword, not imperial gold and not a gladius. The blade was leaf-shaped, and the writing on the hilt was Greek. Looking at it made Frank uneasy. Percy frowned. We can use your weapons, right? Yeah, Frank agreed, for sure. I've just never seen a sword like that. What if I hurt somebody? We'll heal them, Frank said, or try to. The Ouija medics are pretty good with ambrosia, nectar, and unicorn drop. No one dies, people said. Well, not usually, and if they do, Frank overheard the voice would tell us, they're wimps. Back in my day, we died all the time, and we liked it. That's so funny. Hazel laughed. Just stay with us. Percy, chances are we'll get the worst duty and get eliminated early. They'll throw us at the walls first to soften up the defenses, then the third and fourth cohort will march in and get the honors if they can even breach the fort. One thing I'm thinking right now is like, Capture the Flag is not a team game. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Like, you can kind of steal the glory all by yourself, and Percy has before in Titan's Curse, or at least attempted to. So I'm very curious if Percy tries to siege the thing by himself and he does it. Will they accept that as a true victory because he did it all by himself? Because Romans are a very team-oriented thing. The third and fourth cohorts will march in and get honors if they can, even breach the fort. Horns blew. Dakota and Gwen walked back from the officers' conference, looking grim. All right, here's the plan. Dakota took a swig of Kool-Aid from his travel flask. They're throwing us at the walls first, to soften up the defenses. The whole court groaned. I know, one said, but maybe this time we'll have some luck. Leave it to Gwen to be the optimist. Everybody liked her because she took care of her people. She tried to keep their spirits. Well, you have Percy Jackson, so you're gonna fucking blitz through. Keep their spirits up. She could even control Dakota during his hyperactive bug juice fits. Still, the campers grumbled and complained. Nobody would leave in luck for the fifth. First line with Dakota, Gwen said. Lock shields and advance in turtle formation to the main gates. Try to stay in one piece. Atacamo! Anyways, but freaking, I feel like Percy's gonna break that. I feel like Percy's gonna break that as soon as that first chance, and then he's going to bust in and just destroy. Where is it? Draw their fire. Second line. Gwen turned to Frank's row without much enthusiasm. You, 17, from Bobby over. Take charge of the elephant and the scaling ladders. Try a flanking attack on the western wall. Maybe we can spread the defenders too thin. Frank, Hazel, Percy, well, just do whatever. Show Percy the ropes. Try to keep him alive. She turned back to the whole court. Oh, do whatever. That's Percy's specialty. Doing whatever he wants. She turned back to the court. If anybody gets over the wall first, I'll make sure to get the mural crown. Victory for the fifth! The cohort cheered half-heartedly and broke ranks. Percy frowned. Do whatever? Yeah, Hazel sighed. A big vote of confidence. What's the mural crown? He asked. Military medal, Frank said. He'd be forced to memorize all the possible awards. Big honor for the first soldier to breach an enemy fort. You'll notice nobody in the fifth is wearing one. Usually we don't even get into the fort because we're burning or drowning, or he faltered and looked at Percy. Water cannons? What? Percy asked. The cannons on the wall, Frank said. They draw water from the aqueduct. There's a pump system. Heck, I don't know how they work, but they're under a lot of pressure. If you can control them, like you control the river, Frank Hazelbeam, that's brilliant. Yeah, I control water, guy. Give me the water, I'll control it. To quote myself, whenever I play an online game, it's not my fault. My team is ass. Nah, bro. If you should be so good that your team doesn't even matter. You should be so good that that you make your team better. That's me when I play Marvel Rivals, or when I did play Marvel Rivals. I don't play anymore. But when I did, that's what you have to do. Just put the entire team on your back and just cook. Percy didn't look so sure. I don't know how I did that at the river. I'm not sure I can control the cannons from this far away. We'll get you closer, Frank pointed to the eastern wall of the fort, where the 5th cohort wouldn't be attacking. That's where the defense will be the weakest. They'll never take 3 kids seriously. I think we can sneak up pretty close before they see us. Sneak up how? Percy asked. Frank turned to Hazel. Can you do that thing again? She punched him in the chest. You said you wouldn't tell anybody. Immediately, Frank felt terrible. He'd gotten so caught up in the idea. Hazel muttered under her breath. Never mind. It's fine. Percy, he's talking about the trenches. The field of Mars riddled with tunnels from over the years. Some are collapsed or buried deep, but a lot of them are still passable. I'm pretty good at finding them and using them. I can even collapse them if I have to. Like he did with the Gorgons, Percy said, to slow them down. Frank nodded approvingly. I told you Pluto was cool. He's the god of everything under the earth. Hazel can find caves, tunnels, trapdoors, and it was our secret, she grumbled. Frank felt himself blushing. Yeah, sorry, but if we can get close, and if I can knock out the water cannons, Percy nodded, like he was warming to the idea. What do we do then? Frank checked his quiver. He always stocked up on special arrows. He never gotten to use them before, but maybe tonight was the night. Maybe he could finally do something good enough to get Apollo's attention. The rest is up to me, he said. Let's go. Oof. Oh, you got the Lord of the Bathrooms on your team? This will be a piece of cake, bro. I wish I had the Lord of the Bathrooms on my team. Yeah, that's 2 hours and 21. A longer chapter than I thought. A lot longer chapter than I thought. But 11, we're about this much in. 10, it's 10? Dang. Yeah, I think we'll call it for now. And then the next stream, I don't know when it'll be, but no later than a week from now, will be us, and we'll do war games and maybe leave on the quest, hopefully. I don't know what happens, what will happen next, what we'll do, whatever. But, you know, we're getting almost to the point where it should be questing time. So, you've introduced the characters. Percy's about to show his stuff, you know. It's kind of a moderate retelling, not really, of Lightning Thief. But kind of, but not really. And then, so I imagine we'll do that, and then about almost halfway through, we'll go on a quest. Not, but probably like 200 pages in, we'll probably have left for the quest already. And then, these books are much longer than the Frank got any boxing glove arrows? That'd be so gas if he did. But I think that what's it called? And so the story is paced a lot differently. And I don't know if it's Percy or the quality of Rick's writing, but it's both. I think this one is paced. I mean, it's also probably the fact that, like, it's more interesting us learning about, it's like hearing stuff we haven't heard before, because a lot of The Lost Hero was us getting introduced to characters who, like, new characters, which is fine, but no Percy, and then to a place we've never seen before, and then it's like a place we have seen before, and then they're telling us a bunch of information that we know because we just read 5 books of that shit. So that's why I felt it wasn't as strong. Probably could have been a more interesting way to do that. But I think that this one is very interesting, but now I think we've gotten our 3 major characters, their backstories out of the way, which was the slowest part. like Rick always has to, at least for these perspective books, it's been a thing like, oh, my backstory is this, so these are the stakes of my character, which isn't the smoothest way to introduce that. But I think you kind of have to, in a way. But I didn't mind it. And so once that, now we're kind of in a part where like, now it's just story go from the rest of it. Like Percy was like, oh, interesting stuff, and now Hazel was like, oh, backstory, and then some interesting stuff, and Frank was like, backstory, and then some interesting stuff, and now it's like, now you got it, now you know everybody, now it feels like the story's about to move on, I imagine. So next stream, I imagine more will start happening. I wonder at what point, like, I'm very curious, will we get an entire book of Percy not remembering anything like Jason, and then only at the end of the book does Camp Half-Blood show up, and then we get 3 books of them all being together? Because I hear more about Mark of Athena and House of Hades and Blood of Olympus, most of Mark of Athena and House of Hades, than like anything. So I imagine that it goes like boof in quality when like everything is together, and all the things that Rick set up are finally going off, and the stakes and the boom and the just all that shit. So I'm very curious. It seems, if I had to guess, I imagine we will be getting mostly just Percy this time, like not memory stuff, which kind of makes it seem like the plot was set up in like Lost Hero was a setup book, and then we only have like 3 books of like story where plot moves forward, because like Percy's also getting the same setup that we got. But I don't know, maybe it'll feel different, maybe it'll be more than that, but I don't know. I'll rework things on the weekend. The week is too busy for me to look over everything. Understandable. I'll be looking forward to it. No, I also really feel the difference. The vibes are great. Yeah, I think he's just coming into his own with this style is very much a part of it. But I think I'll definitely feel it in Mark of Athena, because I imagine we'll be getting everybody. Rick was on something when he was writing the next 2 books. I'm so excited. I'm very excited to have finished Heroes of Olympus, and then I'll be curious what I'm going to read next, because I'll probably end up taking a break because I did. All right, I enjoyed the stream. See you next time. Anthony. I appreciate you joining, obviously, but I'm very but I don't know. I have been thinking about reading other stuff. I have been thinking about doing like read streams of other fantasy series. I don't know if you guys would be interested in that, but I've been thinking about doing, after I finish Heroes of Olympus, maybe reading Aragon on stream, or Mistborn, or First Law, or any of these other series that I have here. But I will think about that. We'll see, because I don't know if I'm gonna get into Trials of Apollo, especially not immediately after I finish Heroes. I imagine I'll finish Heroes and I won't get into Percy for a long time. I honestly will probably read the Chalice of the Chalice of the Gods and the Wrath of the Triple Goddess before I read Trials of Apollo. So yeah. But anyways, that's cool. I haven't read it. You haven't read those? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about them, but I hope they're still good. But I haven't heard anything about them, so I imagine they're just kind of like, I've heard that they're like chill and they're like nice, but I haven't heard that they're like, whoa, people talk about Mark of Athena and House of Hades and Titan's Curse and all these other books. So yeah, but we'll see. I'll see eventually. But yeah. But thank you all for joining. It's gonna be the end of the stream. Thank you. I will be looking forward to the reading order, so I know what to read and what to not on stream. But yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you. Until next time. End of stream.